Good to go.
Awesome.
Good morning or good evening to those of you in Europe. Hello. We should be now live on YouTube for part 2 of Get Barbaric. For those who don't know what this is, which shouldn't be any of you who are live here right now, a few months ago, Zarek here had an idea to see what sort of barbarians people would be building in all their other games, right? Not just things in like D&D, but all the indie devs out there like us who are building cool games. And this challenge was a way for us to show them off, just have fun together as a community and look at different people's games, as well as try to put a spotlight on indie devs in general, because we can never have too much spotlight on indie devs. So I'm Peter. I'm the creator and lead designer of Tales from Elsewhere. You all probably know me at this point, but maybe those watching this video later don't. And I've got with me Zarek. Zarek, why don't you introduce yourself? Oh, I think your audio...
Oh,
there you go.
There we go. I just had my mic muted. Sorry. Yeah, I'm Zarek Odinsky, the lead designer of Indominant, a superhero TTRPG. It's actually, we have a Backerkit campaign launching very soon. So, yeah, some of you probably know me, but...
Yeah. And is that, just those of you in chat, how is all of our audio? Is everything coming through okay? Let's just wait for chat maybe to respond to that before we dive into our first submission of round 2. And I'll wait and see. Camera needs to be centered on overlay. Oh, I see it. Thank you. I see it now. Zarek was tiny and in a corner there for some reason.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Good catch. Thank you. There's always something.
I'm just a chin.
Yeah, he's just very mysterious. Sound is good. Just Zarek was tiny in the corner. Should be good now. Thank you. So last time, a few weeks ago, we did part 1 of this. And hello everybody. But we had so many submissions for this contest or this collaboration that
Yeah.
We streamed for almost 3 hours on that first day, and we only got through half of them. We were expecting maybe 10 or so submissions, and we got almost 40, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, I think 38 or something.
Yeah, something wild. Looks like 36.
Right.
36 submissions, y'all. That was crazy. So we got through half of them last time, and we're going to hope to get through... We're going to finish it out today and get through the second half. So buckle up, because this is a fairly long stream, and about halfway through, we'll take a little break, bio break, intermission, and see how things are going. Well, without further ado... Looks like the first one of the day is a blog submission. Good to go. And we should be able to see it now. So this blog submission is from Josh at Lone Colossus Games. He has a game he's working on called CyberCore Hack. And let's take a look at this write-up that he provided. I'm going to zoom in a bit maybe so we can all see it a little easier. And Zarek, you have yours for the blog, right? On a few months ago, Zarek.
Yeah, I've got the blog up.
Cool. See what sort of Oops, I had my own stream up on another screen. Okay. So, making a barbarian barbarian hacker in CyberCore Hack. Let's see. System has 3 core programs, which are your stats: attack for brute forcing a solution, defend, which are countermeasures, and infect for doing things stealthily in a subtle way. We hear secondary audio. Yeah, that's my bad. I had my stream up on my browser on another monitor, and so, yeah, thank you. So, barbarians are straightforward characters that prefer a strong offense and defense that can keep up with their reckless behavior. They also have little need for subtlety. So when choosing the starting levels for our core programs, we're going to put our 2 and 3 into attack and defend, more on which those will be in a moment, and our 1 into infect. We don't plan to use that much. Using the attack program is risky because if you want to effect a great change in the scene, you automatically increase your detection level. And if you fail your roll, you increase your detection level again. And if you get an absolute failure, then it goes up again. Now, the maximum detection level we can reach is 2 plus our infect level. This means that we are extremely likely to be detected right away if we go with the typical barbarian smash and grab tactics. At the bottom of every round, if you're detected, you have to make a defend roll to see how well you can hold out against system defenses. As a result, I'm putting my attack at 2 and my defend at level 3. We're going to be rolling defend a lot, and failing defend rolls is the quickest path to burnout, getting ejected from the mission, or even having your brain fried. The last thing for us to do for character creation is to pick a specialty. Usually we just get one specialty, but if you play a longer form game, you might acquire additional specialties over time. I'll list out the specialties that you might take to either shore up your weaknesses and ensure your survival as a brute force hacker, or lean into your ability to smash through everything no matter the cost. Hardwire Junkie. This just gives us more core dice, which means both more survivability and more resources. Nuke Software. It's a great name. This one lets you just automatically get an absolute success without rolling twice per mission at the cost of immediately jumping to detected if you weren't already. Since we assume we'll be detected quickly, we can save those to guarantee success on some rolls where it really counts. Node Invader. This one boosts our defend every time we get an absolute success with an attack. This is a good option if we wanted to pick up a 3 in attack instead of defend. Elite Encryption. Let us get an extra boost out of overclocking, spending core dice to boost the level of ability, when we do it to defend. This is also a good option for if we want to have a 3 in attack. DDoS Expert. If we're working on a team with other hackers, this one's pretty important. It makes it so that us being detected doesn't make the rest of our team more detectable, and allows us to defend them as long as we're detected. Solid choice for team player. This is funny reading this as a software developer. Repair
Yeah,
soft.
I imagine.
Yeah. If we do really well on a defend roll, we regain a core die. This hits the Barbarian fantasy being hard to kill since we already have a high defend level. We're going to roll defend a lot, and more core dice, again, means more survivability and more resources to be successful later.
Nice.
Super cool. One of the first things I want to mention about this stream, for those that may not know, is Zarek and I have not reviewed any of these submissions really beforehand.
Right.
So we haven't prepped. So these are our stark and fresh reactions to it. Mm-hmm. So I haven't read CyberCore Hack before. I have no familiarity with his game, but even because Josh here has chosen such clear language, and I think evocative language, I immediately understand what he's talking about. And I think that's really cool. I know that's not about Barbarian stuff, but like I'm grokking. I get what's already here. I don't know how you get an absolute failure or a absolute success, but I don't need to understand.
But the terms are clear enough.
Yeah, this is very clear though. Like nonetheless, I like that a lot. And the idea of a brute force hacker just type. I imagine they're typing really hard, also, right, in a bad NCIS episode or something. But yeah, that's really cool. I'm sorry, I was talking for a while, Zarek. I'll hop over to you.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, no, it definitely clearly feels. I've loved this event because we see how many different like ways you can make a barbarian R.
Yeah.
You know, and like a barbarian hacker, it works. Like you get the sense it's like that kind of, throw away your defense and kind of focus on just forcing your way through things. So even though it's in that like hacking kind of setting, it feels accurate to like a barbarian.
Right? Yeah, it's neat. And I don't think that Josh is in the stream today, but
no.
Nonetheless, this is really cool. I like that the drawback of the barbarian, so to speak, this brute force hacker, is that they're detected more easily. Because what I imagine this game is that everybody's like plugged into the matrix in some way, right? They're jacked in, and if you get detected, that's when the defensive measures get triggered, right? And so this barbarian is like drawing aggro, especially if you have that, what was it? Where do they say this here? The DDoS expert, where like you being detected doesn't increase the detection of your allies. It's pretty cool. Like you can make a big scene off to the side, so to speak. That's neat. Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, raging against the machine. Somebody said in chat.
Yeah.
I
don't know if it'll change the camera, but I sent you a link. So Josh, he runs Lone Colossus Games, and he's made 5e compatible products. And on his website, there's a bit of a
good call.
description of the game.
And what just like last time, after this stream is done, I will timestamp every section with links to these games or their socials, whatever it is. So if you do come back and want to look more at one of these games, it'll be time-stamped with a link to this site. So yeah, cool. Looks like it's a very cool. Oh yeah, very cyberpunk looking.
Description of the game itself there on there too.
Yeah, very cool. Very cyberpunk. So it's a rules light RPG for quick one-shots and episodic cyberspace hacking missions. Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. It says an mission is meant to be just like 30 to 60 minutes. It's supposed to be for fast play. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Super neat. I kind of want to buy this. Not right now. Not right now. Super cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about it was like it's for one-on-one play and like GM-less. He's got GM-less options as well.
Cool.
In it, so.
Boy, the solo play design, I've never gotten into it, and that sounds so challenging to build something for solo play. Whatever. Yeah. I'm going to distract myself.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Ricky, my co-designer, he's really into solo, so he wants to make like a solo supplement for
dig it.
Indominant. Yeah.
And I will be periodically saying this during the stream. There is a Backerkit sign-up page for Indominant, Zarek's game. It'll be going live in about 2 weeks, roughly.
Yeah, April 8th.
April 8th, so definitely look that up. Right, like we always talk about, indie devs stronger together. All right, next up. Oh, I wonder if Ryan was able to make it. Looks like next is Ethereal. So let's see if we'll put this on the watch together here. Watch together up there, Zarek?
Okay, Tales from Mouse.
Oh, sorry, that started on its own. Yeah. So this one's moderately short, so I think we can just probably run this. I might do it on 1.25, just 1.25, as you know. Yeah. We've got a lot of them, so just bear with me, folks, while I make sure that the stream looks good. I need to, I think, adjust it just ever so slightly. Just a little bit here. Okay.
And Odin Key Gaming are giving us this very fun challenge known as Let's Get Barbaric. This fun little collab where you take a barbarian and you create it in your own system. What would a barbarian look like in your own game or own world, or what's your own vision for a barbarian? Now, normally a barbarian obviously does not exist in Ethereal, and it would look very different. So let's take on this challenge and see what does that look like in our system. Let's get barbaric. Okay, so first off, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the Tales from Elsewhere YouTube channel, as well as Odin's Key Gaming. I've had the opportunity to talk to Peter and Zarek a lot already on the side on the Discord channels, and they're great guys, great content, and huge thanks for them for pulling this whole collab together. It's such a cool idea, and very excited to participate. And if you want to participate, make sure you check out their YouTube channels for more information on how you can get involved as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as well as our Twitch, to make sure that you get all information on Ethereal in the upcoming months. So in Ethereal, you get to pick a division, a specialty, and then a few qualifications to put a nice bow on your character. For this, we're going to create a level 3 character just to make things not too complicated, but also give a proper flavor to our version of a barbarian. We have 8 divisions to choose from, but we're going to go and lock in the hunter division. Now, before we pick our specialty, all hunters get to choose their preferred type of hunting. To make us feel like that bloodthirsty killer that a barbarian usually has, we're going to pick Predator, which, at level 1, we get more damage on our first turn in combat. At level 3, we can track enemies we hurt, which really make it feel like you won't get away from that barbarian that you angered. From here, we have a few specialties to choose from, but it's an easy one. In Ethereal, every character has a madness bar that they want to keep as low as possible. However, there's one hunter specialty that has their mind warped by unknown forces and changes how madness works for them. This is the Eldritch Hunter. Whenever they attack, get hit by a critical hit, or critically miss an attack, their madness increases. As their madness increases, they gain more and more bonuses. But they also have to be careful, as there's tiers in there that have hindrances also. So they need to constantly manage their madness at a level that fits the situation. They also need to be mindful that enemies naturally have ways that increase players' madness, meaning their plans of being at a specific madness level can quickly change. These madness tiers they get make them more effective in dealing damage, but also leave them more vulnerable. In fact, they hurt themselves if their madness gets out of control. I think the Eldritch Hunter is a really good starting spot here, using that madness, but it's kind of acts like a fuel for their rage in this case, as this whatever Eldritch forces warp their mind. Furthermore, Eldritch Hunters get an ability called Mythos Protection, which allows them to reduce incoming damage and play a tankier side if they want. Combined with their other ability, Will of Another, which lets them push their madness further for an additional attack, we can really start flavoring this towards a barbarian that's just on the front line, dishing out damage. In fact, if a player wanted, they could even just reflavor this madness as anger boiling over. However you feel like the best in Ethereal that you want to play this character, you can give it whatever sort of flavor you want. Okay, let's look at the leveling options now. At level 1, I can either take an ability that lets me increase or decrease my madness. Reducing it doesn't seem very Barbarian-like to me, so we're going to go with Push Insanity instead. Here, you increase your madness, but your next successful attack gets a nice little damage boost. That seems more on track. As per Fashion and Ethereal, at level 2 you then get a list of small boons to choose from. There's a few interesting options here, but I kind of imagine our Barbarian just being on the front line with no care for himself and well-being, so we're going to take Tormented Mind. That way, when an enemy increases our madness level, we can push it even further to their own surprise, as we just go further and further down that table and just try to get as much damage out there as we possibly can. Level 3, as per most characters, we get a stat increase in our qualification level. Now, specific to the Eldritch Hunter, we get a Sanity Strike, which, while our madness level is at 2, we can decrease our madness to make an additional attack. This means we can make 3 attacks per turn if we're willing to alter our madness level. It also means that we want to push that madness level as far as possible so we can keep making those attacks. We'll do qualification soon, but first let's look at our main stats and how we're going to apply those. Brawn is going to be our highest with a +4, Dexterity will set at +2, Intelligence will be the lowest at -2, and Personality will just have at a nice 0. This puts us at a strong, non-personable, and not so intelligent being, all about that raw grit and strength. You kind of feel that madness kind of leaking through with their lower intelligence and personalities. They're not really a people person, or usually all about wanting people to interact with them. Now for qualification levels. Technically, we'd normally be at qualification level 2, but in Ethereal, when you pick your main stats, you get to reduce a main stat to increase your qualification level by 1 if you choose. And in this case, I used that to push another qualification level in, just to get that more element of the lower intelligence character, but also get something cool from our qualifications. With qualification levels, you can either invest them all into one, or you can kind of break them out across multiple if you want. In this case, we are going to break them across multiple. We're going to put 1 level in Fearless. This gives us the ability to run towards sources of damage, giving us a charge-like ability. Now, normally here in Fearless, level 2 would be a solid choice, making it so we're not afraid and kind of just take things by the throat. But instead, I have a different idea. We're instead going to put our 2 remaining qualification levels into the Resilient qualification. The first level is going to help with that intimidating factor of being a Barbarian, letting us be adept with that skill. And the second gives us Durable, which gives us the opportunity to reduce damage from failed saving throws. I think if we were to keep building this character, we would continue down the Resilient path to make us feel like this really tanky, unstoppable beast. But honestly, going Fearless here would have also worked more than effectively, which just really shows how you can use the qualification levels in Ethereal to build a very specific character with certain traits, or you can go a different direction and enhance other elements of them. Finally, we need a weapon. The cool thing with the Eldritch Hunter is you could technically do ranged weapons or melee weapons, but I didn't really want to go for that distant Gunzerker kind of feel. I want to go for that Berserker feel. So we're going to take a melee weapon. We're going to go with the Sledgehammer, and we're going to give it the Holy Impact, which lets us heal every so often. So now we have this character that's running around with this massive sledgehammer that can do these massive hits that make the enemies brittle, and when we are really close to dying, we can even get a little bit of healing off if the opportunity presents itself. What we have now, bringing it all together, is this character that has had his mind warped by Eldritch entities, so that when he's in combat, he's just completely gone mad, and he just wants to run in there and do as much damage as possible. And as he does, and he keeps swinging, he keeps going farther and further down that madness level tree, swinging this giant sledgehammer, but doing massive damage as he does, balancing between life and death. And that, in Ethereal, is how we get Barbaric. And if you like what you saw about the character creation and you have a few ideas on your own, good news. Coming in March, we actually have our quick guide coming to our Discord, so make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you get more news on how you can get your hands on the quick guide when it's ready. Once again, huge thanks to Peter and Zerk for creating this awesome challenge, and make sure to go give them some love, and thanks to you guys for checking out this video. I'll see you next time.
Well, we're obviously big fans of Ryan's work around here.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ryan, I just saw he posted a update, because his game, like so many of ours, is in progress. He said, we have made some changes where higher madness gives you new eldritch abilities instead of raw damage, like terrifying enemies. Awesome. Oh, and Ryan's got to head out. Thanks for stopping by, Ryan. We'll just start gushing about your game now, and you can check it out later.
Yeah, I love the approach of, like, because I got the mental image of, like, the Barbarian, where they get hit and it's like, I don't care, or like they just dig the wound deeper and like go crazy, but it's all mental, right? And like dealing with madness. So really cool.
Yeah, and Twin Steel said, what did he say? Like, surely Peter doesn't find such eldritch mental warping interesting. Oh, I would hate such a thing. Obviously, I think that's super cool and a really neat take in that, okay, so in a lot of games, Barbarians, they have a rage system that is bespoke to the class. Like, you get this rage ability that is housed entirely just in that Barbarian feature. But what I think is clever that Ryan did here is his Barbarian is tapping into the madness system, which is a core system of the game. All characters can be affected by madness, but the Barbarian does new things. It reframes the relationship the character has to madness. Instead of being something that the character wants to mitigate at all costs, this character actually leans into it.
Yeah, like when you gain madness, just go even more mad. It's like, thank you. You know, like, you're just making my life easier.
Right?
Yeah, you like crazy, like
it just goes even crazier. Like, I imagine the cryptid, right? Is like, oh, like whoa, that's a little much, buddy.
Yeah.
That's really neat. And for those that may not know, Ryan's game, it is a turn of the century, roughly, cryptid hunting game where the party are investigators working for the Beacon, working for like this organization where they investigate, defeat, and then cover up cryptid activity, which is super cool.
Yeah, really fun part of it is like that government cover up. Very cool.
Yeah, like that's part of the session structure is the cover up portion, and I just think that's really fun. Yeah, super cool. And I mean, he was saying in this video, he will be releasing some public stuff soon. Hopefully in the next couple weeks, I believe. Here's hoping. So yeah, I've been really. I haven't gotten a chance to play it. Oh, sorry, what?
Yeah. I was saying, I think he said they're releasing in March. I think they still are. Or he might have said been pushed back to April.
Yeah, maybe first week of April.
I know they're really close.
Yeah, it should be very soon. I've been itching to actually get a chance to play it. I feel like I talked to him about his game a lot, and I just, haven't actually gotten to play. Good stuff. Okay. Yeah. I'll queue up the next here. So we've got, coming up, Fables of Eternity by Matt.
Awesome.
And let me just prep here before I actually let it play. And as usual, we're doing 1.25 speed, everybody. Sorry for the faster speed, but it's the only way we could reasonably get through all this content.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. We have Fables of Eternity. I have not seen this before, but I noticed Guild Wars 2 artwork here maybe, so I'm pretty sold.
Mm-hmm.
Hello everyone, I am MattMuun. I am the lead developer and creator of Fables of Eternity. Our friends Peter at Tales from Elsewhere and Odin Key Gaming are holding the hashtag #GetBarbaric, where you talk about what a barbarian is in your game or system. Before we jump into that, we first have to define what a barbarian is. The common, modern idea is exemplified by the muscular man, often nearly naked and wielding huge or powerful weapons. Conan the Barbarian is the stereotypical barbarian in fantasy and literature for over 90 years now. Robert E. Howard created the character in 1932 for a series of fantasy stories published in Weird Tales magazine. The earliest appearance of a Robert E. Howard character named Conan was that of the black-haired barbarian with heroic attributes in the 1931 short story People of the Dark. This style of character has been present in modern fantasy stories and games for decades and has very little variation since the initial conception. The term barbarian in history primarily refers to the various tribes and peoples outside the Roman Empire, such as the Germanic tribes, Huns, and Celts, who interacted and often invaded Roman territories. The term barbarian originally described non-Greek speakers in ancient Greece and evolved to encompass all foreign tribes perceived as uncivilized by the Romans, especially during the decline of the Western Roman Empire. I mentioned Conan earlier as an iconic barbarian, and others could be Attila the Hun, Hercules from Greek mythology, or even Samson from the Christian religion, where he uses the jawbone of a ram to slay his enemies. Now that we have a definition and history for the term, we get to toss it out the window and look at Fables of Eternity and our primal guardian, the Bastion. The Bastion is a primal force unleashed, a warrior who focuses their primal fury to become a whirlwind of destruction on the battlefield. Backed by their loyal companion, there is little that can stand before them. This at first sounds like a stereotypical barbarian, but in Fables of Eternity, the Bastion is a guardian of nature, and with that, they begin play with a loyal beast companion that will fight alongside them. The Bastion, in lore, is to be the protectors of the Grove when the Cerberus, the druids in my game, are meditating or hibernating. So let's dive into some of the mechanics and play styles of a Bastion. At level 1, you gain the following array of features and attributes. Might and Ori are your primary attributes, and you get +1 to each. Your hit die is a d12, and you always get the maximum at level 1, so 12 vitality points. You are trained in physical defense, the observation, athletics, nature, all melee and ranged weapon skills, and 2 additional skills of your choice. They gain the primal focus call-in feature, as well as 1 weapon they are proficient with, and a suit of light armor. Talents are what would normally be a class feature in other games. They are separated from the call-ins, so it offers more flexibility in the style of character you want to play. First level, each call-in gets a set number of talents. After that, they can take anything they like. The Bastion begins with Nature's Proctor, Land's Stride, Resilient talents, which gives them the ability to ignore difficult terrain from natural sources, utilize nature's magic, and increases their stone health. So that's a lot of information with little mechanical explanation, so let's clear a few things up. In the game, you have 9 core attributes broken up into body, mind, and soul. Each of them functions similarly to how most D20 games work, where your skills, chance of success, goes up as the attribute goes up. The system uses the Mobius Engine dice pool system, which is a D12 dice pool where you roll all your dice at once and are looking for any that are equal to or higher than the target number, or TN. Different difficulties require more or less successes to complete, but that is for another time. For our purposes, we are going to focus on the combat as that's what most barbarians do. In Fables of Eternity, it is player-facing system. When a monster attacks a player character, they will roll a defense check and see how many attacks they block. I will go into the core mechanics deeper in another video, but to summarize, what a barbarian is in Fables of Eternity, during certain seasons, the Cerberus go into meditative hibernation-like trance while they commune and realign to the natural rhythms of the world. The Bastions are tasked with guarding the grove during this period. Alone with their animal companion, a Bastion will stand guard and defend the Cerberus with their lives. Most commonly, a single Bastion will guard a grove, but in extremely risky areas, more than one Bastion may be employed with guarding of the grove or circle. When a Bastion fails in their duties or the Cerberus dismiss them for any reason, the Bastion will wander with their animal companion, seeking a new grove to defend. This is where an adventuring Bastion would join a party. They have been dismissed by their circle and are freed from their responsibilities. Sometimes a Bastion will form a bond with a group of adventurers and treat them as they would a circle or grove of Cerberus, and defend their new allies with their lives. Bastions are commonly frontline combatants. They excel at tanking damage for others and dealing out massive damage with their weapons and animal companion. In more utilitarian fashion, they can summon spirits of nature, known as Nehru, and grant boons to their allies and banes to their foes. Alright, so that kind of sums up the Bastion from Fables of Eternity. Thank you all for sitting through my ramblings about the Bastion. Please go view all the other great creators and videos for the #GetBarbaric event ended on February 28th, 2025. As always, if you enjoy my content, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you later. Thank you.
Super cool. Oh, and I saw, sorry, Matt, did you have a re-upload of this that I was supposed to stream? My bad if I didn't see that. I saw you talking about that were trying to fix the music levels. Oh, but we won't worry about that right now. It's all good either way. I know your music was a little loud. It's all good. Well, that was,
Yeah.
I love seeing when, so the Ranger and the Barbarian archetypes sometimes step on each other's toes. And I don't know what other classes are available in Fables of Eternity, but I like the primal barbarian, right? Tapping into the natural world. I like that take a lot.
Yeah. Like a little bit more along the like shamanistic druidic vibes kind of. That's a very fun take. And I like the lore. He mentioned how the Bastion's like the protector of the druids. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. It gives them a role in the fantasy world society. Too often, warrior type archetypes in games are just like some violent dude. Like that's what they are. Like they're just some dude who kills people. But this game is giving them context for greater context than I think a lot of games give to their warriors, right? Their fighters and barbarians and such. So I like that part a lot. Yeah, that's cool. And I do like that, you know, I know you didn't have like data up on the screen, but as you were describing in the video, that you can take the barbarian in a more rangery direction with like outdoorsmanship and woodcraft and magic, you know, so you can build them in different directions as well to lean into different aspects of the fantasy of the character. It's cool. And animal companions are fun.
Yeah.
Always like animal companions. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, dig it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's keep going. All right. The next one looks like is CryptCrawlers. Let's get this set up here. And hold, please.
Hello, everybody.
My name is... Yeah, and Matt just mentioned that there is not a stereotypical ranger, so that Bastion kind of fills that role as well. Which is cool.
Perfect. I like that better. It gives them both, I think, a more clear... I realize I keep changing the brightness by switching this tab over here, and it's illuminating my face. It gives them a more clear niche in society and mechanically, I think. Yeah, I like that. Because often even the ranger isn't even given all that much of an interesting niche. Anyway.
Right. They're just like lone outdoorsman kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah, you're just a park ranger or something, or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I like when there's a good sense of identity in any class design. If you're gonna do class design, here's my like mini rant on class design. If you're gonna do classes, make the classes not only mechanically interesting but thematically interesting for the game. If you're not doing if you're doing a what is it, a generic system, of course that's different. But like if you're doing a setting, like make the classes feel like they're part of the world. Anyway, yeah, mini rant. Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nicholas, or Brett, and today I'll be giving you all a sneak peek into our game CryptCrawler. Today, I've been tasked with showing off a barbarian named in our system for Get Barbaric, a challenge run by Peter of Tales of Elsewhere and Zarek of Odin's Key Gaming. Now, as much as I would love to jump right into things, I need to tell you a little bit about our game CryptCrawler, made by myself and my fellow Crypt Keepers, Jaren and Dylan, or Doubtful. CryptCrawler is a combat-focused dungeon crawler. We have a heavy emphasis on tactical combat, open character creation, and equipment. CryptCrawler is a 3-action D10 system with exploding dice. Now that you have a general grasp of the basic core idea, let's get into the mechanic. Now we can start to build a barbarian and we can learn how to play as we go. So how exactly will we create this? Let me show you as we build a level 2 character. Firstly, I picked the class Berserker. They thrive off of exactly what a barbarian needs, bloodshed and fury. Now I want to pick my background. And you don't have to do this first, but I would like to get it out of the way now. So here's how our backgrounds work. We have 3 fate points to spend on positive court. However, if we want more fate points, we can take negative court to gain more. For our barbarian, I'm going to take Avenger. This costs 2 fate points, but it will allow us to gain a +2 to hit for our next attack roll against a creature that crits us. Next, I'll take Healthy, costing 1 fate point for an additional 5 health points. Now, sadly, we're out of fate points, but I think I want more quirks, so I'm going to take Susceptible to get another fate point, which means I'm going to get a -5 resistance to a damage type of my choice. Because I'm a barbarian, I'm going to pick Mind Damage. What resistance normally does is subtract all damage you take of that type by however much resistance you have. However, since I'm susceptible to this, I'm going to take 5 extra damage every time I take mind damage. Now that I have an additional fate point, I think I'll spend it on Resilient, and I will gain 2 bludgeoning resistance. With this, I can call backgrounds completed. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's assign our stats. In CryptCrawler, there are 4 stats that affect how good your character is at a specific aspect of dungeon delving. The 4 stats are Endurance, Dexterity, Will, and Intellect. We start with a 1 in each stat, and we get 8 stat points to distribute, to a maximum of 5. For our Barbarian, I'm going to put 3 points into our Endurance because he needs to be strong and tough, giving us a maximum of 4. I'm going to put 2 points into our Dexterity because he needs to be agile enough to chase an enemy down, giving us a maximum of 3. I'll also put 2 points into Will because he needs to have his grit to not falter from blows and a lack of fear. And finally, we'll put our last point into Intellect. While he may not be the smartest, at least he knows how to fight. While we're here, let's fill in those saves as well. As a Berserker at their first level, they will all just be 1, but they will differentiate themselves more as we level up. Now, let's go over what this class gives us. At first level, we'll gain 3 things. To start, we have Hardy. It'll give us additional HP based on our endurance. For now, we're going to put a pin in health. We'll come back to it later. Next comes our keystone ability, Battle Trance. What this will allow us to do is enter an enhanced state, having us ignore exhaustion and gain additional damage on all of our attacks. But most importantly, whenever we hit an attack, we'll gain a point of Fury. Whenever we have 5 points of Fury, we can spend them to perform a Fury attack, dealing triple the damage dice. Now we can have huge rolls and brutal finishers. However, Battle Trance comes at a cost. When it's over, we'll gain a stack of Exhaustion for it. Now, Exhaustion isn't something you want to have. For every stack of it, you lose a point to each of your ability scores to a minimum of 1. However, if your endurance ever hits 1 and you gain another stack, you'll fall flat, dead. Lucky for us, we have the Persistent ability. This lets us remove all stacks of Exhaustion on a long rest, and 1 stack on a short rest. It also allows us to use a reaction at our level to any saving throw, to really make sure those pesky mages don't get the better of us. Let's take a look at the skills next. With 2 intellect, I will gain 2 skill points every level, and I can spend these skill points to gain ranks in a skill, to gain bonus to certain checks. For now, I can only gain points equal to half my level, rounded up in each skill. I'll just put 1 into melee ornaments and 1 into athletics for now. Next, I get to pick my feat. I know that I want to use an axe as my weapon of choice, so I think I'll go with Axe Mastery, which will give us some bonus damage. Lucky for us, whenever we gain a weapon mastery feat, we can get a weapon maneuver that can be used with that weapon. For our maneuver, I'll take Spin Slash, allowing me to attack all creatures within my range. For our gear, we'll take that Great Axe I wanted earlier. It uses our endurance stat, dealing 2d8 slashing damage, and it can cleave and deals double damage against objects and structures. However, it has the heavy and two-handed properties, meaning it needs an additional action point to liquefy a goblin. Now, for our armor, I won't take anything, given we're a barbarian, making our unarmored AC 8 from our base armor class of 5 and adding our dexterity of 3. Finally, we do our plugin section. We take our stats and abilities into our health, injury thresholds, and weapon modifier. Normally, health would be determined by adding your endurance and will and multiplying that number by 5. But if we pluck that pin we put down earlier, we can remember we have the hardy ability. This allows us to gain additional health or endurance multiplied by our level. For our injuries, we use this chart for both injury types. For the mortality chart, we would add endurance to each of these numbers. That shows how much damage we would need to take an injury once we reach 0 hit points. So if we're at 0 hit points and we take 9 damage, we'll take an injury. And if we take 19, we'd have 2. Over here, we can do the same for our mania using our will. That sums up first level. Let's move on to the second level, which would take much less time. First, we do some things that happen automatically because they scale with our level, like increasing our saves and the extra health from Hardy. Now we gain 2 skill points, and we're going to put them into Survival and Intimidation because we still can't quite get a second rank in the other two. Now for our class options. At second level, we gain access to a pool of 5 class powers, being Heavy Load, Iron Skin, Primal Hunter, Steady, and Wrath. All of these are great options, but I want my Barbarian to be tough, since I have no armor. So we're going to take Iron Skin, which will increase our AC by 1 and our resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage by 1. Finally, I have my feet. I'm going to take Strongman, which will double my carrying capacity and increase my bonus to athletics checks, because Barbarian strength is their best tenet, and I want to increase it even further. With all that, we're ready to get crawling. I hope you all enjoyed the first public look into CryptCrawler, and hopefully you'll see more of us sooner rather than later. If you have any questions, requests, or just want to hear more about our system, please don't hesitate to ask at this Discord. Just don't forget to keep your fury in check, barbarians.
Hello, everybody.
Very cool. A more traditional barbarian, as we might describe it, right? With a class built to rage and provide a bunch of features to support it.
Yeah.
It was interesting how the damage reduction scales. I don't know the scaling in the game, and I was like, this is interesting because the amount of extra damage you do, and with that iron skin feature, like I could see them like becoming really tough and really deadly over time. Yeah, it's very cool.
Especially with that fury, because it looked like it said triple.
Yeah,
Fury
yeah.
triples to your damage.
Where was that?
And you get the fury was gained by, which is cool.
Yeah, to do triple damage. That's cool because, you know, my criticisms of the D&D Barbarian are well known, but what they've built in here is, yeah, you get passive benefits and you can lean into those passive benefits, but then you also have something to look forward to, which is your killing strike, right? The death strike to just nuke one thing, and with that great axe, you know, be a lot of damage. Yeah, but it'll take you some time to work up to that. Now I wonder, and maybe if you're in here still, you could answer, if you use that whirlwind attack and hit 5 enemies with one attack, does that give you 5 fury points?
Oh, right.
I'm curious.
And converse, also, if you spent the 5 fury, would it... it looks like fury attack is a specific thing. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think you can... Well, if you could whirlwind with a fury strike, that would also be like super powerful and cool.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Right, you do the spin, the whirlwind strike, with the fury.
Right.
And just do triple damage to like 5 enemies.
Yeah, whenever I see a fairly crunchy game, I always get excited. Like I can't turn off my brain from trying to optimize something. Yeah, that's very cool. I liked maybe I can find it. There were a lot of options you get to pick from at given levels, I noticed.
Yeah, there's choices. I'm a big customization person, so having options to choose from is always cool for me.
Oh, this is the thing I wanted to find here. Ooh, there it goes. This isn't necessarily about the Barbarian per se, but just something that I think is cool, is that the game uses there it is, thresholds, damage thresholds to have injuries or madness levels. Very cool. And I just saw no to the first, yes to the second. Oh, okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just kind of curious because I couldn't help but start optimizing. This is very cool. Whenever I see the word injury, I get excited whenever there's injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's neat.
So it sounds like there's an extra layer to the health. It's not just health. Yeah. There's also injuries if you take more damage than
if you get hit too hard
in one hit.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Which gives you different scaling. There's different scaling ways I can tell in this game to be tough. So you could scale AC, you could scale raw health, having
damage resistance.
Yeah, these thresholds, different damage reductions. Yeah, very cool. Different ways you could take optimizing out being tough. One with a Barbarian, or Berserker as it's called in this game, you wouldn't want to scale your AC per se. Instead, you want to just go all in on being tanky, probably. Yeah, very cool. And is this Mudkip? Is that this Pokemon? My
I
Pokemon.
think. Yeah, what Pokemon is that?
I know,
it kind of look like Mudkip, but let me see.
Yeah, good like production value too on this. I had to say, like, dig it.
It's not Mudkip. Which one is that Pokemon? Looks so familiar.
That's not Mudkip. Saying, well, I'm sorry. If the Pokemon wasn't in one of the Smash Bros games, that's pretty much how I know my Pokemon. So forgive me. Oh, and I just saw didn't end up going over some of those things. Oh, that's all good. Yeah. Oh, there's a difference between base AC and AC. Wooper is the Pokemon. Oh, okay. I'm showing off my ignorance of anything beyond the original 150 and things.
Yeah. That's where most of my Pokemon knowledge is as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Very cool. Well, hope there's more public-facing information on that soon, my friend. Very cool. And everybody's typing Wooper on in chat. Yeah, thank you. All right. Oh, here's one that I've been curious to see for a while. This is Godstorm by Six from the Big Design Discord, who I feel like I've been talking to for ages now. And hopefully, I don't know that he's in the chat. It is a second-gen Pokemon. Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody. It's going to be fun to rewatch. Okay, let me see how long this one is. Okay, I'm going to have to set this one to 1.25. This one's a little longer, right? So we'll hop in here. And so Six, I know this game doesn't have a lot of public-facing information yet. Like, there's no way to buy it. He's still working on it. But I do know a little bit about his game. I have not watched this video, though.
Okay.
Hi, y'all. I'm Six. I am the creator of Godstorm. Godstorm is a tactical TTRPG where every player character gets the ability to perform short-range teleports, known as blinks. Godstorm is currently in an alpha with a combat beta coming sometime Q2 of 2025. An Alpha West Marches campaign is going on in February. If you are interested, please contact me in the comments. This game and build are subject to change. So I have created Nonak the Berserker. I view barbarians as not being able to integrate into civil society. Making my class the Berserker is a little bit different, but kind of keeps me able to sleep at night knowing that the Berserker could sleep in a nice cot for the rest of his life. My occupations are pretty much skills in this game, so I have made them a jailer and a lumberjack, two pretty beefy roles, and I think that it will help us out in roleplay. I'm not going to focus on the roleplay side of things right now, because that's not very fleshed out. I am going to focus on the combat side of things, though. So we made a level 3 character. We put most of our points in Vitality with a 1 point in Dexterity. The Vitality gives us more ways to heal in combat, as well as some evasion, because this class does want to be attacked a lot, but not hit very much. We are a 5 HP class, which is the highest. We get 6 total AP, so 6 meta currency to spend on abilities and such. Before that, though, I'll go over the weapons real quick. We have the Jarkle Axe, which is in our main slot. In Godstorm, you attack with slots and not weapons specifically, generally speaking. This weapon does a decent amount of damage, but the main thing is when you throw the weapon, you may move range 2 to your target, ignoring engagement and reactions. So you can walk in, hit them with your 2 hand axes, hit them with this, and then leave, or get closer to them with some extra movement speed. Pretty variable. The hand axes are feeble, which means you will roll this d6 twice and take the lower result. And then reliable 1 means that it will always do 1 damage. And half of 1 is 1 in this game, so pretty good. You're always killing trash mobs with 1 HP. Makes your life pretty easy with that. Notably, our blinks are up first. You get free class blinks. So our main class is Berserker, so these are our 2 main class blinks that are both free, no AP cost to us. First one is range 3 blink, and afterwards we can target a creature, and it must attack us at the start of its turn as long as we're still adjacent to it. So easy way to force an attack out on a creature. The whirlwind attack is a range 4 blink, and after blinking we attack each enemy within reach of one of our main or light melee weapons. This attack does half damage. So this is really useful when you want to kill a bunch of trash really quickly. You just blink in, use this, killing a whole bunch of stuff really quickly. And then for our abilities, Blinding Cuts, it's kind of combos with our Whirlwind Attack or Blink Call, but each creature within Emanation 1, which is one unit around us, they make a will save. On a fail, they become blind and dazed, so more difficult to hit us. Hit Me is the main part of this class. You gain an anger die that starts at 6. Each time you are attacked, this die is reduced by 1 until it hits 0. Once this reaches 0, you get a free attack that can be used whenever, during any turn or at any time. And it does an additional 1d6 plus 3, and then this die goes up to 6. So this kind of enforces the idea that we want to be attacked. Not necessarily hit, but the more we are attacked, the angrier we get, and eventually we're going to lash out. Execution, you have to use this at the beginning of your turn, and it's free, but you target a creature within range 5, and if that creature dies during your turn, you gain 4 temp HP and Inspired. If you mark a creature for death and then go and kill them, you're going to get some goodies. All in, when you attack 2 or more times during your turns, if we attacked with just our flex slot 1, with our 2 hand axes, this would happen, but we may immediately charge in a straight line, range 3, ignoring engagement and reactions. Afterwards, we attempt to shove, and creatures in this line must make a dexterity save or become prone. So basically we are running in, attacking, getting angry, and just kind of pushing people out of the way as we kind of run away or run towards them. Another major part of our build is Blazing Speed. Your anger die decreases by 1 for each time you attack. Reactions do not decrease this. So what this means is if we are attacking with our 4 hand axes for the turn, we're decreasing it by 4 and making it proc very, very often. It's worth 2 AP and it's definitely worth it. We're going to get a lot of damage out of that. Giant's Growth Rune is our advancement. You get these at level 3, and you can kind of pick between a list of them. At the start of combat, you activate this rune, and you grow size larger. So you go from a 1x1 tile to a 2x2 tile. This helps a lot with having more surface area to be attacked, as well as more surface area to engage. Overall, a pretty good thing. The main downside is we don't get affected by cover as much, but we have a solution for that later on. Initial abilities come standard with main classes. So when you're hit by an attack, you gain +2 temporary HP. Of note, we have 1 armor, being a berserker. So if a creature attacks us for 1 damage, we are just getting 2 temp HP and becoming really healthy. When we target an enemy with a weapon attack, we can spend 1 mana. They're slowed until the end of the next turn. And if they're already slowed, then they become immobile. So this is going to be our main use of mana in this build. It's kind of built that way. You have an outlet to just kind of use mana besides just blinking. Very good. Kind of keeps creatures near you and not able to escape you. For our feats, took Shove Master. The main thing is if a creature is shoved into a wall, they take 1d6 bludgeoning damage. Dirty Fighting. When you hit with a main melee attack, you can throw sand that inflicts blinding in a burst too. So it keeps things more focused on us. Blade Wall, as long as you are engaged, you and your allies count as having soft cover. So that's kind of the way around the Giant's Growth Rune. Kind of combos pretty well with that because we're probably going to be engaged a lot with this class. Charge, once per scene, we can charge twice our movement speed in a straight line. Charging 10 movement in a straight line, usually a battlefield's like 25 by 25. So you're getting most of the way, if not all the way to where the enemy is. So you can start getting attacked immediately. And then Gang Up. Once per round, when you attack an enemy who's engaged by one of your allies, you gain +1 accuracy on melee attacks. So as long as you have an ally within melee range, you are firing off very accurate attacks and making your life a whole lot easier. So this is my take on the Barbarian called the Berserker. You can kind of bow out of this episode now. I am going to go a little bit further to just show something off real quick about what I would do at level 4. At level 4, we're taking a newfangled class called the Hemogoblin. And these newfangled classes are a singular level, but they're very powerful. Everything inside of the class kind of focuses around the singular ability. You cannot take these until you are level 3 at minimum, but a lot of the stuff in our kit we want when we are level 3, so it's kind of difficult to squeeze it in. So our main thing is blood magic. Since we don't really have a use for mana often, I would want to get rid of the mana pool completely, and we gain 5 HP for the class, and then 10 HP from this ability. So we're getting 15 HP, putting us way ahead of the curve for HP, and we're just going to be very beefy. And then we're never really having to worry about mana or anything like that, and we can kind of just exist as the HP monster. From here, we're also taking Blood Barrier. So after we cast a spell that costs HP, which all our spells cost HP now, we create a barrier of temp HP on us or an ally within range 5, keeping up with the temp HP, keeping us healthy. We're just going to try and outlast the enemy and just run them down, run them over. And that's kind of what I imagine the Barbarian is. Thank you. Like I said, if you want to play in this West Marches campaign, it is an alpha currently. Feel free to contact me, and we can get something set up. I appreciate your time. Thank you, and bye.
All right. I don't know if Six was in. I don't think he's in this stream today, but he's very active in the Big Design Discord. I was familiar with his game. Like I said, his game is very much 4th edition D&D or Lancer inspired, where it's all about positioning on a grid, and all of the characters, regardless of your class, are imbued with a lot of magical ability. So all of them have blinks. Everybody can teleport in various ways and have all these different effects. So he's like unabashedly making it very mechanically complex in that way. So like, just for those watching, that's all like very in line with what I've talked to him about his game. Yeah, very
Yeah,
good.
it was neat to like teleport and then the whirlwind attack, how it's like tied together.
Yeah, and how the fights in his
like,
game are. I don't want to take this the right way, everybody. It's very MMO in its design, but in a good way, like MMORPG, right? It's supposed to have these large, dense, complex battles where the players have to leverage a variety of discrete abilities, right? This is all very in line with his design goals, and I like that. In his game, you're very much almost trying to create an engine here. Like you can kind of see it, where he's got this cycle of gaining temp HP, killing enemies to gain temp HP, like spending his HP for his abilities and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like getting attacked to get the anger for the big extra attack, and like building up anger with attacks as well. So
yeah, kind of a blender, right? Just like this spinning blender of attacks and such. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play his game yet. As always, I could just never have any time. But yeah, he has also the multi-classing system. I believe his game assumes multi-classing. Like, you're meant to branch out into all sorts of different subclasses. Or maybe the term is... They're not called prestige classes in his game. But yeah, you, like, take all these different mix and match builds. Porpoise. Oh, you've been playing. Awesome.
That's cool.
That you've been playing in his game. Yeah, it seems like he'd be a really brutal GM. Like he would make you put on your thinking cap, like tactical thinking cap for his games. Very cool. Oh, and Tim's is the next challenge to create a Pokemon trainer in your game. No, Nintendo is very litigious.
Oh yeah. Call it a monster trainer, even then it might be too,
right.
Too similar.
Too similar. Too real. Yeah, very cool. I was looking forward to seeing that from 6. All right, next up we have... Oh, cool. Dice Anvil, Dante's video here. Very cool. Some of these were hard to wait to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, this video is no longer available. My link is dead. Hold, please, while I assess what's going on.
While you get that ready, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Like 1
Hold,
minute.
please. I think he may have done a re-upload, so let me see if I can find this here. Oh. There it is. Weird. I had a bad link. That's my bad. Oops. There we go. And I'll wait for Zarek to come back now. Get that ready.
Barbarian.
Whoop. There's a great still to stop on right there. Sorry, Dante, if you're watching. Oh, is he? Oh. Yeah, it's really hard, but so fun when we actually get stuff done. My character has electric whips, and it feels amazing. Nice. Yeah, 6's game, everybody like gains powers from these electric eels. That seems strange out of context, but... Okay, Zarek's back. Cool. I found the video. I just had a bad link. Okay. Here we go.
Barbarians. Everyone knows them. They're one of the most iconic classes in games like D&D and Pathfinder. It's a mold that works so well and is used all the time in movies, video games, most anything that has the big, tough character that maybe has some anger issues. But can this mold work in any setting, in any game? Hey everybody, welcome back to Dice Anvil. This is one of many videos that will be posted in the future updating the game that I'm developing right now called Triconimist. Today I'm going to be presenting a mechanic that works well if you want to fit into that Barbarian class, but it's very unique, and I'll tell you why. Before we get into it, please consider subscribing to the channel to join the Dice Anvil army. Army? You want to be a nation or an army or a country? What do you want to be? I don't know. You know what? If you haven't seen my past videos, let me catch you up. What if a world of hyper-advanced science was wiped out and replaced by a world full of magic, which might actually just be science that you don't understand? Triconimist allows you to explore that question. As you might normally go into a dungeon in games like D&D, in Triconimist you might find yourself in an underground base that looks like a post-apocalyptic Death Star. Ancient science and experiments have slowly developed into unexplainable, or should I say, magical phenomenon. Phenomenon is plural, I think? Let me look that up, because I don't want to sound like an idiot. See, I'm not that dumb. I can barely read in one of the videos here, but you know, one of these phenomenon are the Forgotten. The Forgotten are beings made of metal and rock, and they have wandered the surface of the earth for thousands of years. They have wandered for so long, in fact, that they do not remember their origins or their true purpose. They have one tiny little background thing with some very vague rules about them. I feel like in my head, I had much more care for this option for players, but why would a player ever choose that? I decided to expound on that and kind of add it as like an expansion option if you want to use that. If you want to be a forgotten race, you can use this form that I'm about to show you to play that. To showcase this expansion of the forgotten race, I am going to make a barbarian class just to show you guys how it works. So here it is. Here's the form with the forgotten on it. You got a description up top, and then you might see that you got 3 boxes here labeled physical, metaphysical, and weapons. These are abilities they can choose for your robot. There's a lot right here, and there's a reason for that. You get to pick 3 of these abilities to start off with, but you can lose them. If I get hit in the noggin, I'm not then gonna lose my ability to hear. Well, I might. Probably not though. But if you're a robot and you literally receive damage, that damage is literally something breaking. So I put in place that every 2 damage that you receive, which, you know, is more than what you think. It's not D&D standards. 2 damage is like a pretty big hit. You have to pick an ability that you lose. Oh, you got your extra limb. Your extra arm's really handy. Well, guess what? If you get hit by a hammer really, really hard, that arm is probably going to be crushed off. Now, the player can choose what they want to be destroyed, but they got to make an important decision at that moment. I did this for 2 reasons. 1, I got to make it balanced. And 2, because you can replace them. This is what makes the Forgotten very versatile. You can basically make this robot be primarily a magic user if you wanted to. You can make him be a nimble assassin, but today we're gonna make a barbarian. When I think of a barbarian, I think of someone with a rage ability or someone that's a tank that can take a lot of hits, someone that can deal a lot of damage. The first one I'm gonna pick is Titan in the physical category. Normally characters are about 6 feet tall, but if you choose the Titan physical ability, you are then 8 feet tall. You add 2 power dice to your ultimate power, and you can use 1 stress to add 3 d4s to a melee attack. Huge. So basically, if the person's not watching out, you can deal some major damage to them. One thing you gotta have as a barbarian is something equivalent to your rage ability. It's so iconic. So obviously we're gonna have that here. You will find a rage ability in the metaphysical section called Ancient Instincts. Take 1 stress to activate, and you can add 1d10 to attacks. It's perfect, right? You take 1 stress to activate, and you add 1d10 to all your attacks. It's perfect, right? You're all of a sudden OP. But it comes with a catch. You must attack the most hostile target. Which means if all the bad guys are dead, you then have to turn to anything else that is a threat to you. Or at least the most threatening. Let's say there's an NPC there that's helping you guys, but maybe you got in a heated argument with him the night before. Your defensiveness response out of just anger and your instincts to fight whatever is about to harm you might just turn on him and associate him with a threat. To me, it's such a cool idea that this super useful ability can also kind of be a dangerous thing, not just for the enemies, which trust me it is, but also for the players. And the third and final ability is up to you guys. I want you guys to look at all of these abilities and decide what you want this character to have. Should they have an extra arm so they can hold more weapons? Should they have an arm blade, a retractable shield? Should they be able to mold and reform the metal on their arm like that one Terminator that can... Shut up. Maybe they can use magic. It's up to you. Leave in the comments down below what ability you would want to pair up with these other 2 to make the perfect barbarian class. Doesn't have to be accurate. It can just be fun too, you know. So there you go. You got a heavy hitter with a lot of health and a rage ability. You guys want to see more barbarians? Well, I got the resource for you. Peter from Tales from Elsewhere and Odin Key Gaming are doing an event called Let's Get Barbaric. This was my official submission to that and also a showcase of these new mechanics that I made. Peter and Zarek are going to live stream their reactions to a bunch of indie gamers like myself and their creations of the barbarian class in their games. So go check that out because you'll probably get some cool ideas, maybe some homebrew ideas of how to do that, and you'll be able to spread awareness of the indie game designers and their passions. And I really do want to support other people's ideas and passions in games. So please go check that out. I'll see you guys in another video. See you, nerds! I bit my tongue again. It's perfect, right? I literally just bit my tongue.
Okay, we won't watch the outros at the end.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so yeah, Dante has really high production value on his videos, and if you haven't checked out his channel, he's making a couple games. One of which is Triconimist, which is very cool, and the other one he actually made a Western game, like more of a small scope. Like I don't think it was more than a one-pager. It's been a minute since I've checked it out, but yeah. So I'll forgive him for forgetting that it's the T-1000 in Terminator 2 because he played a lot of Conan the Barbarian clips at the start. So I forgive for not remembering the T-1000, and of course Arnold is the T-800 in this one, for everybody to know. So this is a cool thing because it's a robot barbarian, and where the barbarian side of it is more that there's just this enormous machine, right? More so than a primal berserker, right? It isn't fulfilling that same fantasy.
Yeah, very cool. The lore around it too, where it's like I think that was some clips from Transformers, but just like the ancient machine, it's kind of neat approach to like magic is just maybe like science that's not understood. That was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, it's very true. Oh, and just to remind everybody, I am playing all these at 1.25 speed, so it makes everybody sound way faster than they normally would speak. Right? You know, because he's a really passionate designer, and he's really enthusiastic in videos. And when you do 1.25, it does make him sound a little caffeinated. But we all sound like that when sped up if we're fairly fast speakers. I personally I actually saw the rune marked option there on Metaphysical he was talking about, where you can become a judge or zealot. The idea that you could be like a holy robot barbarian was what option was intriguing to me. Did sound super cool. And obviously he was talking about injury systems where like parts of your body get broken off, and I'm like, heck yeah. Of course. That appeals to me. I see LOL Terminator geeks. Maybe. Maybe. Good stuff from Dante. Yeah, he posts fairly regularly about game design and D&D stuff, and yeah, his channel is definitely worth checking out. It'll be, like I said, I'll update the timestamps afterward. All right. Oh, look! I just noticed what's finally on the docket here.
Yeah, you.
It's me.
Yeah.
It seems somewhat self-indulgent.
So, you know,
the
I was gonna let you know. I think we're getting a little bit of feedback through your mic.
Oh, okay. I try to mute it.
Is it my? Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So when the stream is going, when I'm streaming, I mute my mic in OBS so that I don't come through there, but I don't mute it in Discord.
Right.
So you can still hear me.
As long as the audio for them is good.
Yeah, the stream it won't come through on, I believe. Or like anybody, when the videos are going, are you like hearing me breathe into my mic or hearing background noise? Just let me know, and I can also mute myself in Discord during that. It's because I didn't want to put on my headphones today because I have a good hair day.
Yeah.
And
I prefer not wearing headphones if I can. So.
Right.
I just want to make
sure Peter has watched this video already. How dare you?
Yeah.
Now it doesn't show the timestamps on this. Hold on, let me I timestamped mine so we need to watch the whole thing, but it doesn't show it in this screen. So hold please.
Yeah.
And I can
I want to say you're started at like 3 something.
Yeah, 2:43.
Oh dang. I was like a minute off.
Yeah, you almost nailed that. So we'll go forward here, and I will, in all fairness, set myself to 1.25 as well.
Let's hear caffeinated Peter.
Caffeinated Peter. Okay, people said audio is good. Okay, so it must just cool. I leave it so in Discord I can say something to you if I need to. But all right, here we go. Going for TFE. We will get a lot more. Definitely spread the word if you can. And now for my submission to the Get Barbaric challenge. Now, I'm not going to submit the reworked Barbarian I did in my previous video, as that's not really in the spirit of this challenge. That was just a fun exercise. Instead, I'm going to present how I made a interesting Barbarian character in the Clockworld setting for Tales from Elsewhere. Now, this is a post-apocalyptic Weird West setting, so you're not going to have traditional fantasy archetypes, but let me show you what I put together. It was a lot of fun. In Tales from Elsewhere, you build a character by choosing a profession, culture, and incident, and these choices give you all sorts of narrative and mechanical benefits. So let's run through Herb Buckley, my barbarian-like character. So I chose Frontiersman for profession, Outlier for culture, and Received a Vision for incident. So this is somebody who's been living on the fringe of society, exploring the ruination, and was raised in a remote mountain community. And at one point, he received a vision from elsewhere, something that pushed him out into the world. And these combinations are what gives us this kind of unique build. So I wanted Herb to be big and strong and deadly in a melee fight. So I made his one master skill, Might. This is going to let him bust down doors, pick up heavy things, throw people off cliffs, all the stuff you'd expect from a big, strong guy. His two adept skills are melee and athletics. Melee skill is pretty self-explanatory. This is how he's going to fight with his big felling axe. And I gave him adept athletics so that he can run and jump and climb and just be generally quite mobile. I rounded out his skills with just a few all-purpose choices. I gave him Novice in range so that he could use his rifle with a bit of accuracy, Novice in reflexes so that he can sneak around a little bit, and then I did Acuity and Bravado to, again, help round out his social skills so he can track things a little bit better, notice lies a little easier, and with Bravado he can maybe intimidate people. Now, Herb's edges are what's really going to make him have an interesting take on the Barbarian. So at character creation you have 3 edges, and I've chosen Vendetta, Butcher, and Sustenance from Suffering. With Vendetta, whenever Herb or one of his allies receives an injury or is wronged by an enemy, he gets a Vendetta dice. And these Vendetta dice can be used to make his injuries more deadly, to help him with failed skill tests, or even reduce the severity of incoming injuries. So it's not rage per se, but it's evoking something similar. It's a righteous vengeance that he gets when people wrong him. He also has the Butcher edge. So the way this works is if he injures the limb of an enemy, he can immediately make an additional attack against a different limb on that enemy. So this is that evocation of a barbarian, just being able to tear people apart in a fight, letting him literally dismember people, tear them limb from limb. Herb's third edge is Sustenance from Suffering. Now the way this works is, whenever another character within close range receives an injury, Herb can use a reaction to remove one strain from himself and become invigorated until the end of his next turn. So he literally is empowered and resuscitated by violence. So as he's using Vendetta and Butcher to tear people apart, or when his allies are receiving injuries, he can use his reaction to remove strain, become invigorated, get more Vendetta dice. So he's just this walking engine of violence as he wades through a fight. Now, because his skills are what they are, his vigor defense is pretty good, his ability to block is pretty good, so he should be able to hold his own in a fight. And by removing strain so frequently from himself, the hope is that he has a lot of staying power in a battle, like a classic barbarian should. And with these combination of edges and his skills and his weaponry, I can see Herb having a lot of interesting decisions to make moment to moment in a fight. He can contribute outside of battle too by using his Master Might to help with skill challenges or puzzles, and he can use his Bravado, even though it's only novice rank, to help in social situations as well, inspiring people or intimidating them. As Herb advances, he'll be gaining more edges, and where I take him long term would be using things like Send a Message. So whenever he kills a character and inflicts a lethal injury, it'll automatically frighten nearby enemies, making him a terror on the battlefield. Or I'd give him things like Bloodlust, so he always high roll strikes against bleeding characters. Or maybe I'd take him in more of a leadership direction and give him lead by example, where when he inflicts an injury with a strike, his nearby allies will also high roll their affliction strikes against that character until the end of the turn. So thanks for checking out my submission to the Get Barbaric challenge. Oh, we don't need to listen to me talk about the challenge we're doing right now. And I'll go back to a... it's weird, like, it'd be weird to talk about my own character here in my own submission a little bit, but a quick note is that Vendetta was changed since this video.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, Zarek, I think you've played since the Vendetta change. You now...
Yes, and I had it.
Yeah. So now the way Vendetta works is when, an enemy hurts one of your friends, you get a Vendetta against that enemy that you can then expend for extra effect. So it's it's not a Vendetta that you stack up on yourself, but it's specifically about, like, that one guy right there. You hurt my friend, and you go after them.
Yes,
Tim says I bet Peter's going to say his video.
Tim mentioned. Yeah, exactly. Unbiased opinion. Peter's is the best. No. I love yours because it's the Vendetta. It's like you're that kind of anger you can play it off as, and then the sustenance from suffering, kind of using that, just running in and fighting and dealing damage to fuel yourself back up. It's great.
Yeah,
Also, I did not realize when I heard it that the character Herb, that is a hilarious name
Herb.
for like some angry dude like running in
Yeah, it's
the
Herb.
melee combat.
Yeah, the outlier culture that I chose there is supposed to evoke people in like mountain communities who, even in an apocalypse, would probably just stay together in their remote community. And so I wanted something that just felt like some guy, like, just, that's Herb, down there, just some country boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks, Piotr, for... I really have tried hard to make the edge names really evocative, right? So that even before you've seen what they do, there's like an appeal to them. You're browsing and you see one that's called Butcher, and you're like, I want to know what that does. So
and
that's
you get
the
a good idea of what it is just from the name. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
what's the one? There's that one that's like the chase. Oh gosh, which edge is that? You know which one I'm talking about? Where you like mark somebody.
Dogged Pursuit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
That
Dogged
one's, like,
Pursuit's a
one of my
cool
favorites.
one. Yeah, because it's like Hunter's Mark, kind of. And I actually updated the language on it. It used to say you can mark an enemy. I've changed it to say you can designate an enemy as your prey. Way more evocative.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. I realized I was too much in D&D brained at that moment. I was thinking of Hunter's Mark. But yeah, change it to be the prey. The small town in the mountains, only Armageddon or a -20 winter could take them out. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't have to dwell anymore on mine, but yeah, this character I think was made using only the public-facing playtest stuff too. Like, this character's made with the demo of character creation.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm obviously super biased because And any video quality about this is Tim. Tim's in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Any video quality comments aren't mine. That's all Tim. Tim, the editor.
Yes.
Oh, hey, Proph. I hope think you're still in here. Time for yours, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this set up. Okay, this one's 10 minutes, so we're going to turn this one's speed up here to 1.25.
Recently, I've heard of the Get Barbaric challenge, which challenges the game designers to make a barbarian-type character in their own systems. And there's a small problem. My systems don't tend to have barbarian in them. But I challenged myself, asking myself, what if I made one in Runehack? Well, there are two tiny problems with that. First of all, Runehack is cyberpunk, which, no problem, you can just reflavor it, and the important part is the nature of a barbarian, someone who throws away the caution and throws himself into the action. The other problem, though, is Runehack has no combat. Before we continue, let's talk about the basics of Runehack. First of all, it has 5 attributes: muscle, agility, training, cognition, and hunch. Muscle and agility are self-explanatory. Training is about knowledge that relates to tool sets and materials and working with materials, including stuff like art and crafts, while cognition is about knowledge that is related to things that are non-physical, such as psychology, history, anthropology, and so on. Hunch, finally, is a sort of intuition, your ability to guess things that you do not know or have no chance of knowing. The attributes range from 0 to 4, with an average attribute having a value of 1. When you take an action, you roll 2d6 or 1d12, depending on your choice every single time. You add your attribute to the roll, and you try to roll more than 8, 12, or 16, depending on whatever your GM chooses is appropriate for your action. On each turn, you can take 3 actions, and the number of actions you can take is reduced by the number of wounds you have. With that out of the way, let's talk about Alton. Alton Northwill is a pale orc from Morwell. He lost his parents at a young age, which is why he grew up with his uncle Campman Northwill, and he spent his youth working in a bike shop. He didn't learn much from the school. Instead, he would learn much more about bikes and the culture that relates to them and history from his uncle. His attributes are muscle 3, training 2, punch 1, and the agility and cognition are both at a 0. As for his secondary traits, his burden, which defines how many items he can carry, is equal to muscle plus 1. In his case, it's 4. Concealed items, 0, because that is equal to agility. He cannot really hide too many things on his person in a way that others cannot find them. His masteries that are offered from the training are areas of knowledge that he would have a great chance of succeeding at. In his case, it would be drums and bikes. He doesn't have any masteries offered by the cognition attribute. And finally, he can have 1 guess. Guess allows you to, out of character, and make a statement. The GM has to say whether this statement is true or not, and your character kind of has this knowledge but doesn't have any evidence of it. When it comes to Altan's resources, he has 10 energy and 300 credits. Credits are the currency, of course, because it's cyberpunk. As for the energy is a resource that characters in Runehack can spend to avoid gaining a wound, which, as I mentioned previously, reduces the amount of actions you can take. So let's talk about the traits of an orc. Orcs, first and foremost, all share perseverance, which allows them to repeat one action once per turn. It doesn't have to be done the same way. For example, if you try to grab one person in a turn, you can try to repeat the same action and grab a different person, or you can move straight and then move and turn left or something. The other 3 traits I chose for him from the social pillar are all unique to the orcs. First of all, there's Beyond the Limit, which allows you to increase your highest attribute by 1. In his case, it would be the muscle, which makes his muscle 4. Attributes cannot usually start at a value higher than 3. This is something unique for the orcs. Second trait that I chose for him is Thick Skin, which allows him to shrug off 1 wound once per day. Finally, there's True Words. This trait allows Altan to talk in a way that cannot be misinterpreted. Others who would try to sense whether he is speaking the truth or telling lies. As long as he is telling the truth, he can choose his words to be radiantly clear to everyone, making them certain that what he says is indeed true. Through his job, Altan got to know a dwarf named Jarla's Runesong. They became friends, and Jarlas eventually told him that he's a member of a music band called Backerkit. Altan wanted to join in, so he bought a drum kit with his savings and trained until Jarlas was impressed enough to invite him into the band. And the band got successful to a small extent, even to the point where they got themselves a human manager called Reginald's Goldenstone for quite a cheap price. You start with up to 3 contacts, which you have relationships with that range from -3 to +3. Higher number means that relationship. In Altan's case, the relationships are +2 for Campman, Northwill, his uncle, +3 for a bass guitarist from the band, Jarla's Runesong, and -2 for Reginald's Goldenstone, the manager of his band. They should add up to 3, so in this case it's perfectly fine. Let's move on to the job pillar. His job is that of a seeker, which is a label for all the jobs in which you try to satisfy your customers' ever-changing desires through your performance. In this case, he's a musician, he's a drummer. Music can have 4 qualities. These qualities are different for different types of seekers. In this case, the 4 qualities are intensity, tempo, authenticity, and creativity. Intensity is reliant on muscle, and it speaks of how loudly the music can be played. In Altan's case, really loudly. Tempo speaks of how fast you can play, and it relies on your agility, while authenticity relies on your cognition, because it's about how emotionally moving your music can be. Finally, there's creativity, which relies on hunch, and it's sort of how well you can make your music sound good, despite it violating the music theory. As for the training, it can be used for 1 quality of your choice, replacing it. In Altan's case, that would probably be tempo. He would like to play fast. So, I picked 2 features for him. Alternative approach, which allows him to use training for 2 of his qualities instead of 1. In his case, let's make it tempo and authenticity. And destructive dedication, which allows Altan to destroy his musical instrument and multiply the total earnings for the current phase of the performance by 10. Reginald eventually reveals that he's actually a member of a secretive organization called Acumen. They seek to reveal the secret plans of megacorporations that rule the world to the public, so they can resist their influence together. They admire the talent of Backerkit and offer them in exchange. Make music that speaks of these corporate plans, and the members of Acumen will spread music in return. Backerkit couldn't help but take this offer. When it comes to the spy pillar, Altan's role is that of a mover. In Spy Pillar, your task is to navigate the map in order to achieve some kind of objective, whether it's retrieving or delivering information or items or even people sometimes. The maps are made up of areas that are connected by passages, and passages can have obstacles that slow people down. In order to pass them without being slowed down, you can have masteries, which you gain from the Spy Pillar. You start with 2 of them, and for Alten, those masteries would be Over and Slope. He's really good at jumping over stuff like fences or tables or bikes, and he can run up and down the slopes quite well, so things like stairs or slanted rooftops. When it comes to his apps, I chose Push and Stonefall. Now, apps are the closest thing that the system has to spells, and they allow you to do a little something with the runes in order to assist yourself or your allies. Using Push, he can push someone to an adjacent area using his telekinesis, and with Stonefall, he can take no wounds when falling from a great height, assuming he uses this app before he falls. That's about it for the Get Barbaric challenge. That's Alten, Northville. Thank you for your time, and have a great century.
All right.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
So no combat.
Here, I'll pull it up. I'll have this up here while we talk about it. But yeah, in Proph's game, you're not fighting back against the villains. You're it's very Mirror's Edge. And Proph, tell me if I'm mischaracterizing anything I say here from my understanding. But yeah, it's more like Mirror's Edge, where the goal is to like steal secrets from the megacorps and like make your escape or do like clandestine operations. And so yeah, there's not like a character that runs in with an axe and starts decapitating guards. Oh, good. Mirror's Edge is right. Oh, and hey, Rich from Renegade Rolls is in chat. I don't know if he's still in chat. He's awesome. Check out his channel. That's all I can say about Rich. Really good, mostly Dungeons and Dragons, tabletop role-playing recommendations and guidance, a lot about storytelling. So like while I'm on the mechanics side of things, very firmly there, Rich talks a lot about creating narrative and storytelling stuff. So super, super good channel. But anyway, so this is really cool because the image that was going into my head from this character is a metalhead drummer, like, fighting against the system. So like by day, or like, he's a drummer in a band, and then he's the tough guy in the scenes who like can kick down the doors and like get people out and in their missions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds really cool. I like the flavor of the music being a way to like reveal secrets from the having that be fun. And then there's the feature to like break the instrument to get extra money. That was really cool and fun.
I'm not trying to play favorites or something here, but the break the instrument to gain like increased money might be one of my favorite features I've seen in this whole challenge. Yeah. Like there is no other feature.
For like a metalhead drummer.
Yeah, he's Spider-Punk from Spider-Verse, exactly. Like that was one of the most unique features I've seen in this challenge so far, right? And like we were talking about earlier when we were looking at which one were we looking at? CyberCore Hack, where I'm not familiar with the game structure here, but because the terms being used are really evocative and the images and descriptions are so cool, it brings me in right away to the game. And so that's a big win in my book. And so there'll be a link to this, of course, when I do the full, do all the timestamps, but looks like this is a game you can get the PDF of right now with, it looks really nice too. Really cool, like layouts and this looks really nice, like really aesthetically pleasing. It makes me jealous. I'm not good at graphic design. This is just really quality stuff. Yeah, super cool. Heck yeah. We flatter you. No, that's what this is all about. This is just finding awesome games and sharing them with each other. It's been tough because I've had this giant matrix. Zarek and I've had this matrix of submissions for like a couple months in total now, and we haven't been able to watch them.
Yeah.
So it's nice to finally get to.
Absolutely.
All right. Oh, we've got Pathways to Adventure next. All right. So I think, John, You were one of the first people I spoke to when I first started like going on social media. So it's really cool to finally get to like, I don't know, connect more and have this on here. Okay. And I think, yeah, we're going to have to do 1.25. Ah, yeah. He's got the horns immediately. Oops. Ad popped up. No, we don't want McDonald's ads. My bad. All right. And yeah, Blaze, yours is coming. Yours is on the list. And to remind everybody, or those who don't know, we got the submissions throughout the couple-month time period. And then what I did is I randomized the order. I didn't want any priority to happen, any bias. That's why like mine wasn't the first one. Neither was Zarek's. Ours weren't even in the first set.
Yeah.
Very totally random here. But come hell or high water, we will finish today.
Yes.
All right.
Just so you know, Peter,
yeah.
I'll have to bow out after this one.
Gotcha. This is your time.
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll watch this one.
Well,
yeah, and just so everybody knows.
I'm sick too, so I'm just starting to struggle.
It's all good. So yeah, Zarek has a bunch of real life stuff going on right now, so can't stick it out for the full thing. But we will soldier on, potentially with a different guest shortly. So here we go.
Hello, everybody, especially Peter. We're here to very quickly.
I think this audio mix is a little low, so hold please while I adjust it. Stand by, everybody, as I get this ironed out.
Discuss a shortened version of my Berserker video, and hopefully I can ramble it off within 5 minutes and get to the juicier bits. So without further ado, we're gonna jump over to my.
Oh no, this one is this one's a little quiet. I haven't tested it yet. I wonder if we could do subtitles on this. Maybe that'd help. Oh no, yeah, sorry, John, sorry. I think the audio is a little hard to hear, and I can't adjust it too much. I've got it maxed on the stream. Hold please while I sort this out, as there's got to be a way. And YouTube, doesn't YouTube do like auto? Is there auto? You know what I could do, and I know, John, you sent me the link to the Google Doc here, I believe. But yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be able to hear this, my friend.
My Berserker. We're just gonna look at the first.
That's maxed on there. Yeah, I think your audio mix is a little too low. Doesn't adjust audio automatically when first program videos 2 sounds this day. Yeah, so what I'm gonna need to do, because we are gonna show off this game, darn it. Hold please. Can you, John, if you're at your desk, could you do me a quick favor and resend me the Google Doc for this build? I've got it somewhere in our DMs, but that would just be super helpful if you could send that to me, if you've got that character build at hand, because we will show this one off. Let's see. Unless this one has a better volume to it. No, this is the same one. Okay.
My love for you is...
Oh, and thanks, Rich, for stopping by. We'll have to catch you later. We will talk later, Rich. Yeah, send it my way, my friend. And what I'll do is I'll do the next one, and then John, send me the link, and then we'll just come back to it right after. That way we can just get in perfect timing, because next is actually Zarek's on the list. So we're going to do that one real quick while he's on stream, and then we'll come back to yours right after.
Yeah, mine starts at 140.
What is a barb?
140, okay.
Do you want to jump? And then I'm a slow talker, so you might be able to do like 1.5 even.
Okay, we'll see how 1.25 starts us out as. And
servers are down below in the description. And with that, let's take a look at the Indominant submission. So the Indominant submission is a character called Super Sinew. He is a secret member of the GLU, the Galactic Legion United, in our setting, and he is a bruiser with super strength powers who's going to get up in your face, take hits, trade blows, and he's not really afraid to take his own hits and dish them back out. Super Sinew, being kind of a top secret hero, his personal real name is unknown, but his powers are that he can expand and stretch his body and his muscles. And so you can see in his art that he's got sort of like stretch marks from just expanding his skin to extreme sizes that his body actually can't even maintain. And so that's what his helmet and his gloves and boots do, is they keep his body from expanding into too large of a size and destroying itself. And in addition, just the nature of the character and his powers and how it affects the way he looks, he's very direct and blunt and short-tempered. He just likes to take care of problems with his fists and get things over with. And so he's got a short temper, short fuse, and he's always looking to pick a fight. So using the Indominant system, he is a bruiser, which is where we get that melee combatant sort of thing. He's got low defense but high damage reduction, which kind of exemplifies the idea that he's not afraid to take hits and dish them back out. And then paired with that, he has the super strength power set, which is pretty obvious what that does, but it gives him the ability of extreme strength, and the nature of his powers, as I mentioned earlier, he can overexert himself and push his limits, and it will hurt his body a little bit, but it causes great effects. Super Sinew's powers come from a genetic mutation that he was born with, and it even affected him at an early stage of life. His powers showed up early, and it's kind of part of his troubled past is all we really know about him at the time. He's quite durable and hard to take down, and he's very strong. He's had a life of fighting on the streets and getting beaten up and beating up other people as well. And so his stats exemplify that. He's got 3 durability, 4 might, and 1 power. This gives him very good offensive capabilities, very good control, and through use of his super strength inherent effect, as well as his brutal strike archetype ability, he's able to still deal very good damage even though he has a low power stat. As you can see, he has high health. As I mentioned, he's very durable and high damage reduction. The combination of these stats makes him very difficult to take down in a fight, especially when we pair that with his second wind archetype ability. This character, I created him at level 5 just to show off quite a few different powers and talents and things of that nature. So as you can see here, his inherent effect is Supreme Might. As I mentioned, he can overexert himself and use his super strength powers. For Super Sinew, that's going to be expanding his fist to this massive size you can see in his art and punching. It's going to hurt him, but it's really going to hurt his target as well. Before we jump into his powers, I just want to talk about the talents that I selected for him at levels 2 and 4. So we started with Residual Power. The kind of thematic I went for here is when he expands his body, he kind of leaves it expanded. So when he uses his Supreme Might inherent effect, he's going to gain 1 defense for 1 turn. This fits that theme that he's expanded his body and it's still kind of expanded, so it's bulkier and tougher, and it's going to be harder to hit him and hurt him because of it. And then his tier 2 talent at level 4 I selected is Penetrating Strike. So the mechanics of this is that when he uses his Brutal Strike archetype ability, he's going to deal 2 penetrating damage even if the attack misses. This again is kind of to exemplify the idea that he's punching with this big fist and he's enlarged it, so even if he does miss or it gets blocked, that large amount of mass is going to still hurt, or maybe even kind of break through their defenses a little bit. So for powers, his base powers, I did something a little unusual, but I'll explain why, and that is I did not choose any minor actions for his base powers. He has Super Jab, which is a basic kind of punch, and Super Shove, which he can use to knock somebody back and knock them down, which will give him dominance to make his attacks in the future. It'll help his allies, and it can help him reposition his enemies. And for his tier 1 powers here, I selected Bulk Up. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where I left a minor action out of the base powers. Generally, I suggest to select a minor action always in one of your base power selections. So Bulk Up is going to use his super strength power, so he's going to enlarge his whole body, make himself a bit stronger, and this is also going to give him extra damage reduction to make him deal more damage when he hits his enemies, since he's very good at hitting his enemies. Next, I chose Return the Favor. It's a good reaction, especially because he's got low defense, and he's going to be running into melee range, sort of that. Again, the idea that he's just going to take hits, he's going to take low damage because he's got good damage reduction, doesn't really care about getting hit, and he's just going to turn around and punch right back. And then Strong Arm, another main action. This is one of my favorite powers. So this is going to let him enlarge one of his arms and pick somebody up and immobilize them and carry them around. This is why I chose a good control modifier. That way he can, more easily pick people up with this power, since it's a might check for them. For the tier 2 powers, to kind of help with the fact that he doesn't have a base power with a minor action, I chose Body Missile. That will let you use the main action to get into range, hit your enemy, and then also follow that up with another melee attack. So kind of softens the blow of not having a free minor action that I can do every turn. And then Clearing Wave, this is another good minor action power, a bit more utility. Kind of the idea here is he's enlarging his hands, slapping them together, create a big pressure wave that clears out like flames and maybe ice on the ground, stuff like that. And Seismic Slam is my third tier 2 power. This is a good area power that's going to do a nice control effect around him and a good utility. so that maybe he can seismic slam and then use his strong arm or his body missile. Or as you'll see here, another one of our tier 3 powers that would benefit from seismic slam. For his tier 3 powers, the first selection I made is Big Flex. This is another reaction that's going to help him take less damage. So when somebody attacks him, he can enlarge his body to kind of try to reflect or absorb that blow. It'll increase his defense and give him some increased damage reduction if the attack still hits. And then Constrictor, this pairs really well with Seismic Slam that I was mentioning earlier. This is another good control power, but it also will deal some good damage. He's going to grab somebody and expand his body to squeeze them and crush them. It'll immobilize them and deal some good damage. And then Jawbreaker, just another good kind of hybrid of damage and control. He's going to do a big two-handed smash. He's going to expand his arms to do this huge strike that's going to deal some damage and also potentially daze the enemy. And with that, that is the Indominant submission for the Let's Get Barbaric challenge. I'm excited to see all of your submissions. Don't forget to use the hashtag GetBarbaric and tag Odin.
That we can pause it there with a plug for this challenge.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, yeah. I haven't watched this video, but I am very familiar with your game at this point, Zarek. So it's not like, oh, I don't know what super strength was in your game. And you guys can actually see, I don't know if I'll be able to point correctly, the character in the top right corner is Super Sinew for this stream. So we've got the art up there. And yeah, Piotr, sadly, Zarek did not draw all the art himself. That would be really impressive. But he has incredible artists that he's working with on this project. Super cool. I'm a big fan. I'm gonna gush. I'll just gush for a minute here, Zarek, before I let you talk. I really like Indominant because one, the aesthetic is very Silver Age or classic comics, and so it's a lot about heroism and not about like gritty super violence when it comes to superhero games. So I like that a lot mechanically. So there isn't going to be like a barbarian in this kind of game, simply because that's not the kind of character that you'd usually have in it. But I think you chose well with Super Strength and Bruiser. Because like I said, Bruiser's base defense is okay, but it never scales up, right? The damage reduction is what they're going to rely on, which is very, very barbarian. And the control effects that Super Strength ends up letting you have is the big guy that throws his weight around, right? Which is, like I said, close enough for a barbarian. Yeah, so I'll let you talk for a moment too.
Yeah. There's definitely a few other ways I could have approached it. I wanted to be a little more direct. That's why I chose those. So just very focused on, like, he doesn't care about getting hit too much. A lot of the mechanics for the Bruiser just really fit a barbarian theme very well. So, like, I could have even went with fire manipulation powers or several other ways. But, yeah, I really chose this one because I also love this character's art. Yeah. And I figured he's the art that we kind of had included for the challenge. So,
it was a good choice. And I like... we were talking about class design and how class design should, when done right, is a boon to a game design. I know, like, a lot of people, I know myself included, like classless structures and that freedom. But like for a superhero game where the players are a team of superheroes, so the class, the archetype, I should say, in Indominant is your role in a team of superheroes. Like, are you the Bruiser? Are you the Hunter? Like, it's your role in those scenes. And that's distinct from the power set, which I think is cool. Because like you're saying, you could do a Bruiser, but with ice powers. Like, I think coming up.
Yes.
Blaze in chat may have made an ice Bruiser, which is super cool. So like your role in a fight being separate from your superpowers, you can make cool... You can flavor that, I think, in cool ways, right? You can really do a lot with it.
You could be like a...
Good.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I always like when a game lets you do that. And the old City of Heroes game was really cool about that. And I know we've talked about City of Heroes or some of these other old MMOs, but the idea that you can take a power, you could be fire and be a fire healer. Basically, you could be an arbiter and be fire, though. And that's just neat. I like it.
Yeah. I appreciate the kind words, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. We're big fans of this game.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, I did want to mention too, I included a downloadable character sheet for this character because he can play our game right now. We have a free PDF quick start, and so that's why I didn't show everything on the screen. I probably still should have. But yeah, people can get the character sheet and see the powers that I was talking about and even play Super Sinew. So
awesome. And I'm going to put up here on the screen because I know Zarek's got to go. But so Backerkit, you can sign up for the Indominant upcoming crowdfunding that's coming in 16 days, dude. It's super soon.
Is it really that close already? Holy cow.
16 days, 20 hours, apparently. Wow. It's just around the corner. So anyway, if you haven't already signed up, I definitely have. I'm not logged in right now, of course, because I'm streaming. But definitely sign up to check this out because it is a very cool game. I've only looked through the primer, which is already like 100 pages, right? It's a very robust.
196.
196.
Yeah, almost 200 pages.
Yeah, there's a primer you can download. That's pretty much a full game already. The primer.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's got everything for the game master too. We call them comic editors. We like to do a lot of like flavorful terminology like that.
Yeah.
So
and I'm just going to show some of the art that you have on here because just look at how good this art is, y'all who are watching right now. Just look at how cool this is. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I love our art too. I gush over our artist. He's so good.
Right? It's just awesome.
Milton Aguiar.
Not enough I'll say like there's not enough crunchy superhero games out there lately. Superhero in role-playing games has gone more toward rules light or masks direction, which are really cool, but I do like to see ones where I can it's just about beating up some bad guys, at the end of the day. That has like a lot of mechanical complexity to it that I can sink my teeth into. I like it. Where I can dream up builds, right? I like when I can sit there and dream up builds. So really cool stuff. Mm-hmm. But thank you, Zarek. I know you got to head out. Yes. He's moving and he's got all this stuff going on. So
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for the kind words. Have a good day. Hopefully I feel better soon too.
Thank you. Oh, and so yeah, the guest. I appreciate it, Blaze. I know you would totally be down to hop in here. We're actually going to bring in the other Tales from Elsewhere dev, who hasn't had a chance to talk with y'all a lot. So he's going to be coming in. And Daniel, I don't know if you're watching right now. But hop on in to the recording channel, and then we'll get back up John's game. Yeah, I appreciate it, Blaze. We already had this planned out for Zarek needing to leave. We had the whole thing set up. And will you be camera on today, sir, or are you going to be just icon?
No, let me camera on.
Oh, it's myself twice. Hold, please. Just two of myself. Hold, please, y'all. You get to see behind the scenes a little bit here. It reordered Discord here. It's because Daniel's name is earlier than mine alphabetically. Okay. Oh, I think something's still... There we go. Okay, I think I've got you in there. Sound test, 1, 2, 3. I think we're
Can
good.
You hear me all right?
I can hear you. Y'all can hear... Yeah, twin Peters. Peter Clone Army. Well, yeah, thanks, Daniel, for hopping in. Oh, and I should probably change your name to not say Zarek. I can fix that. I know how
probably.
to do. Probably. Hold, please. I have this set up to actually pretty easily switch. I've trying to get better at the streamer type stuff. Okay. Okay, here we are. So I'll give you a quick intro, Daniel.
Yeah.
So, who's Daniel? Some of you may have seen Daniel in the TFE Discord from time to time. So Daniel is a longtime friend of mine, maybe too long, we would say. But also he has been a dev on Tales from Elsewhere with me for a long time, pretty much since its inception. And like any good working relationship, he has been there to reel me in on many of my design ideas over the years to reality check me, which as we've always had a really good balance in how we approach design, as Daniel thinks much more narratively than I do, and I think much more mechanically than he does. And that has always created real good synergy. So yeah, that's who Daniel is. Anything else you'd want to mention about yourself?
Yeah, so in addition to, I would say that's a pretty good description. Like, you're the heavy rules thinking, and I'm there to sort of like, I think reel you in and posit insane ideas and make you make them reality. And then I also help out with a lot of the document stuff, just like proofreading and rules rules layouts and such.
Absolutely. Yeah, pretty much all the different up and down from top to bottom, Daniel's had his hand in it in some manner. But yeah, it's good to work with people that don't have the exact same design aesthetic as you, but still understand your design goals, right? That are aligned on the goal, but can help push you and push a design to the edges of things and see where those edges are in design, right? And that's what we've often done.
I think that's a key thing you mentioned there, where you have design goals here. So when I am trying to push you in any directions, it's in the context of what I think you want the rules to be. So it's not like trying to change it into something that I have a personal investment in. It's trying to help you shape your vision of it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not trying to make a different game. We both have the same game in mind, and it's about trying to find the right path to getting there. Because once we went public with this, everybody got to see it in its very stable state and a very refined state, but the game was rough for a long time. We experimented with a lot of things.
It's seen so many iterations before you really got to like the core of it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And John, I've got what you sent me. Oh, and I see you sent me a video that I can try to run maybe. Let me see, and we can get back on track here. Because it would be nice to show off your video, because it looked like it was pretty darn cool. I'm going to try to download it real quick. And, and now, Daniel, I don't know if you may need to watch the stream, which will be slightly delayed, because I don't think I could watch together this video.
Okay.
I could also just send it to you really fast, maybe, if you want to try to download it locally.
Oh, sure. Yeah, maybe do that.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure we both can see it. So thank you all for your patience as we fiddle with... Oh, it exceeds the file sharing limit to send you. All right. So we do what we can. Oh, there's the class compendium and the Berserker. Okay, I do have the Word file or the Google Docs file, but I think I'll just try playing this video. Technical difficulties, the wonders of going live. Oh, okay. Let's see.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, it's still, I think it's still too quiet on this video. I was just testing it. Okay, I'm going to pull up the class compendium that you sent me, John, and I'll talk a little bit about your game, and I'll do my best. I'll do my best, buddy. And what you can do is if you do end up doing a re-upload or anything, I'll provide a link to it when I go through and update the timestamps, because I want to make sure that your stuff is shown off proper. But yeah, don't sweat it. This is that's the type of aspect of content creation people don't get to see, is just how much of a struggle it is to sometimes get like audio issues sorted out and visuals.
Tech stuff.
And so what I'm going to do, Daniel, is I'll give you a link to this file as well. Oh, I can't.
Sounds good.
So, this is a private file. But I will have it up on my screen, and I'm going to send you a screenshot really quick, Daniel, just so you can have something immediately.
Yep.
And here we go. Okay, so a little background about this game. So we are looking at Pathways to Adventure, made by John, who's in the stream right now. And this is a very robust fantasy role-playing game. And when I say robust, I mean there's myriad options, classes, species, although I forget the term you use for species. It may not be species. Heritages, maybe the word. It's been a minute since I've read through. But there is quite a bit of content here. Very robust. And let's take a little look. So first of all, characters in this game have maneuvers and abilities. Like no matter what class you are, you're going to have actions you can do, like special features. Ancestries, thank you, I just saw that. And so let's see what some of it says here on Unstoppable Barbarian. And then I'll do some unpacking of the system as well. I will do my level best here. Okay, so we've got Wild Fury Lessons. Know 12 maneuvers and 6 chants, which have already been chosen for you, so they'll be down below. Ability Adaptability. You may opt to switch out known abilities for other abilities for which you have proficiency. Efficient Body. Maneuvers cost 1 less stamina to a minimum of 1 stamina. Heavy Metal. Wielding 2-handed weapons that weigh at least 3 grants the benefit of equipping a kite shield. Oh, that's cool. Heavy Weapon Training. You are very accurate with your heavy weapons, gaining half your body as accuracy on weapons that weigh at least 3. Throwing Axe Expert. You are very accurate with your thrown axe weapons, gaining half body as accuracy with thrown weapons. Heavy Tosser. Your 2-handed martial weapons gain the thrown property and deal 3x body as additional damage for headshots. Unarmored Defense. Gain armor equal to twice your body stat plus 2 while wearing no armor, and it cannot exceed the 10 armor cap. Not a Coward. You cannot wield shields and cannot gain dodge defense through any means. Interesting. And Inner Rage. Gain rage charges equal to your physique amount and regain 1 charge per 6 rounds. Raging Strikes. Once per round, expend a rage charge to attack, again as part of the execute maneuver action. So like I said, maneuvers are the actions that they're martial actions, right? They're things you get to activate, like a sweeping strike, a cleave, a power attack. All of that stuff would be maneuvers. And characters start off with quite a few in the game. And it looks like this character opts for I love big weapons. Big weapons, low avoidance, but high mitigation, and a lot of efficiency with the reduction in stamina cost on maneuvers. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there because it's a crunchy game. But one thing that is interesting about the way that this is done is it is a class-based system, but there's so much customizability of the class that it's almost classless in that you really can build within it. And I remember talking to John a while ago, is there is like a recommended build that you can also just pick rather than having to, customize all like 18 total abilities from level 1, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I think this is classic Barbarian, as I would say, maybe. You're right, Daniel?
Yeah, it's got having the rage mechanic, it helps make it feel Barbarian for sure.
Right, yeah. And it's something you can do something with the rage, which I always like. Like, it's not purely passive. Like, there's a rage attack you can do, right?
Yeah.
You can expend rage for more offense. It's always nice when there's interactiveness, something like that, where the feature isn't static like that.
Yeah, when it just turns on and you just deal more damage, it doesn't really feel like you're getting to do anything exciting.
Right, yeah, it's just a mode. And this one is it gives you a toy as it goes up. I also like Heavy Tosser. It's something I always like to do when I'm playing a two-handed weapon character in any role-playing games. I want to find an excuse to take my greatsword and throw it at something. So I like that.
Let me see if I understand this here. So the heavy metal lets you use any weapon as if it was a shield, which supersedes the part where it said you cannot wield shields.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're able to wield it. You're gaining the benefit of a kite shield without having to equip a shield, and you can't equip a shield. So yeah, that's interesting. And you can't dodge. Like, there's no dodge defense. You have I'll see if I can find maybe the character sheet. But you have various defenses and various pools of resources like stamina and so forth. See a porpoise. Saw you're going to have to dip. I have Pathfinder to play. Great submission so far, though. I'll catch up later. Well, thank you, my friend. We'll see you around. And yet, Piotr, Tosser. Well, here in the States, Tosser doesn't have the same connotation as you guys in Europe usually. Yeah, it's cool. It's at level 1, you have a lot you can do, right? You're not starting off as which I know can be a plus and minus for some players, right? Some players get overloaded. It is nice though that you don't feel like a level 1 barbarian in 5th edition just has rage. That's all that they do, right? There's like nothing to interact with there.
I'm happier when level 1 you feel like the archetype of your class or whatever you're going for, and I feel like in D&D you have to wait till level 3 before you really feel like the class. So yeah, I'm in favor of starting out feeling that way.
Yeah, starting out competent. And I know that with 5th edition they were like, well, you just skip to level 3 if you don't want to be competent. It's just it's a strange. I don't know if that design choice appeals to me. Like that there's an assumed intro to levels. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Agreed. It's odd.
It's a bit odd. I'll just take a quick look at how the things scale here real fast. But it looks like you get to do even more with your rage, which is super cool. Gaining more benefits while raging. Issue challenges to characters by gain special maneuvers here. Better at initiative. Yeah, lots more offense, like tons of offense here. Causes all incoming and outgoing attacks to be critical hits for 1 round. So very cool. Very push and pull. Yeah, and we won't dig in too deep at the moment, just because the game has a lot of mechanical depth to it, and we wouldn't be able to cover it reasonably right now. But John does have a Discord server and a bunch of playtests that get run for this game. There's a lot of stuff you can go check out. And again, I'll put links once we've done it. But yeah, there's a lot of complexity here, but from memory serves, you can also basically take a pre-gen and have a lot of this picked for you. Like, it gives you that archetypal pick as well. So you don't have to roll up your sleeves and, choose it all yourself. Oh,
Probably
hey,
good to
Alex,
have
I
that
see you there in chat now as well. Welcome, my friend. Cool. Good stuff. Well, it took us a minute to get there, guys. Thanks for being patient on that one. And thanks, John, for sending that in. And like I said, John, if you ever do a different upload, you just let me know, buddy, and we'll get it for you. And so, Daniel, are you in the watch? You're in the watch together now, though?
Yes, let me pull that up.
Cool. I'm going to switch over to that now. As next, we have Cypher System. So this is Saraphys talking about an existing game system, not one that they built. And we have played Cypher together, Daniel. So we are.
Cypher is a very cool system.
There is a lot to like about Cypher. Is how maybe I'll phrase that at the moment. Okay, this one's a little long. So this one's 15 minutes, and I haven't. Let me see if this is time stamped. Hold on. It is not time stamped. So let me.
So, apocalyptic fantasy barbarian.
Okay, so here what I'm going to do is we're going to hop in to about a minute in, and that's when the build starts being shown off. Just because we cannot take 15 minutes on any one
down he does on his foes, goes as far as the crow flies. That might actually just be an Australian phrase. Anywho, as you can see, you can't see, he's a hardy, rugged warrior who shreds the walls of the world. Because that's funny. The idea here is that this barbarian, aside from being strong and durable, moves like the Flash and hits as fast as he moves. Basically, you have this wildman barbarian who speed smacks you across the battlefield. And yes, I am using the variant rule of 2 descriptors because I just do that at my table because it's fun and awesome. And if 2 people want to use the same descriptor, well, it's unlikely they'll both be using the same 2 descriptors. I also won't be using power shifts, but obviously, if you want to, go with ones that emphasize might and speed, well, at least using this build, as well as damage and defense, or evasion, because that works with the focus. So, let's start, shall we? So, I'll be using the Godforsaken and Rust and Redemption white books for this, so I'll leave it on any, because I don't need any of the others. Next, we'll skip over flavors, but absolutely combat and stealth would be some prime choices for this build. For our type, we'll be picking the warrior. For obvious reasons. The explorer could work well too, for emphasizing the speed side of the build, if you wanted to pursue that angle of it. But for here, we'll just go with warrior. And as you can see, just a few reasons why we're going with the warrior. So next is our focus. Now, here we'll... Now, there's some good choices in things like absorbs energy, where was that? Absorbs energy, and rages, which is all the way down the bottom. But I want to make this weird to emphasize a character concept, and also to kind of show off what the Cypher system can kind of do with character options and such. So I'm going to go weird. So basically, treads the walls of the world. Speed plus phasing gives you a unique ability to evade danger and simultaneously inflict damage. I think that sounds like an amazing idea for a barbarian. Which, come on. So yes, heading on to our next. So next is our descriptors. As I said, I'm going to be using 2 descriptors. So the first one I'm going to go with is hardy. As you can see, there's many different options. Obviously, you've got more traditional races like halfling and such among descriptors, as well as kind of character types or character personalities. You could say, down here you've got honorable, for example, and just plain old human. Anyway, so going with hardy. And then for our next one, we are going to be choosing rugged. Oh, rugged. You're a natural lover. You're a nature lover, accustomed to living rough, pitting your wits against the elements. Most likely, you're a skilled hunter, gatherer, or naturalist. Years of living in the wild have left their mark with a worn countenance, wild hair, or scars. Your clothing is probably much less refined than the garments worn by city dwellers. I think that very much sounds like a barbarian to me. So, yep. So we've got our 2 picks for descriptor. Oh my god, it's right there, and I still brain farting through this. Oh dear. All right, and next is our choice of warrior abilities. We have 4 choices. Now I am going to go with combat prowess. Basically, we get to add 1 point of damage to all of our attacks, or to our choice of attacks, melee or ranged attacks, and that's a very broad sense. So next, we're going to go with improved edge. We gain an extra point of edge to put into a stat that has 0 edge. Next, we're going to go with practiced in armor. This is going to reduce the speed cost for wearing armor by 1. This is going to be very useful. Basically, it's going to allow us to essentially get away with wearing armor and also pulling off a lot of these speed-style assaults that Shreds the Walls of the World is going to allow us. And finally, we are going to take Swipe. So it costs 1 speed point. This is a quick, agile melee attack. Your attack inflicts 1 less point of damage. However, that's countered by combat prowess than normal, but dazes your target for 1 round, during which time all tasks it performs are hindered. So basically, you stun your enemy. Yep. So that's our pick of 4. Now, let's head on to power shifts. Now, as I said, I'll pick out the ones I would actually choose rather than just kind of giving a broad statement. But if I were to go with power shifts, so we've got, I'll go back up. We've got 5 power shifts, 5 points for power shifts to assign. I would go with 1 in healing, 1 in, resilience, and then 3 in power, because we want to emphasize as much as possible just how devastatingly we're going to be hitting. Essentially, a rage without a rage. Now, alright, so lastly, we're on to pull points and edge. We have 6 pull points and 2 edge points to assign. So how are we divvying these up? We're going to put 1 point into might, 5 points into speed. Then we're going to, so I'll explain this. This is basically so that our barbarian has ample enough points to do his strength attacks and also perform his speed attacks as well. An 8.
and I'm going to pause here because we're now at 10 minutes into the video, and this one is over the length we asked videos to be. But luckily, Daniel and I are very familiar with Cypher system, and so I think we can talk a little bit about this. So you and I had a lot of fun playing Cypher in a superhero setting. And I know you and I have talked offline about this multiple times. How it was really fun in superhero settings, but in like a more traditional fantasy setting, we kind of felt like we're bouncing off of it. And I know Piotr in chat, you were kind of like, you were thrown off by its heavy emphasis on resource management. I feel that. You want to unpack maybe your thoughts on that, Daniel, too?
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I feel like, well, not that we're critiquing Cypher, but
so Saraphys didn't make this game, and so we can critique Cypher a little bit here. She did a really good job, and clearly has mastered this system. We do like Cypher.
I'll just say broadly, I think that was a cool build to pull off a Barbarian in the system. But yeah, I think for superheroes it worked well because it lets you have like scale of strength and power. But when you're trying to represent just other classic archetypes, the resource management is too much. And there's so many different I always forget what they're called. They're the feats in that game.
Oh, there's the foci, right? The different power sets you can have.
Yeah. And I always felt like they fell kind of flat. Like none of them stood apart from another one. Like they kind of bled together.
Yeah. So in this one, Saraphys chose shreds the walls of the world, which is super cool, right? Like that's cool. And I did think that's a really fun way to do a barbarian. It's somebody's like running through people and melting them, right? With phasing. But for every like evocative shreds the walls of the world, there's like weapon master gain +2 to attack type stuff. Like there's a lot of somewhat not so evocative choices out there.
Yeah.
Right?
The game feels like it's padded with just like slight increases to things.
Yeah. That don't feel that fun to use in the session. And I know that the resource management side of it, I think is fairly cool because you can almost guarantee success on things if you push yourself far enough. But I know that form of resource attrition sometimes rubs people the wrong way. Well, the thing that most people bounce off of is the GM doesn't roll any dice. And some people are like, can't do it. I need to roll dice. Right.
Although I think I'm generally in favor of asymmetrical systems where the players are doing a different game than the GM. But just fun to roll dice at the table.
Absolutely. And yeah, Blaze, I get you that, having simple mechanical options is important in a game. But I would say in a game like Cypher, where it's up against really, like, there's not that many options out there. It's not like your game, not like IWS, where there's every option under the sun, right? You're given this set of abilities, and some of them are just clearly more interesting than the others. Additionally, in IshanekonWorldShapers, the underlying combat engine has more nuance and interesting things you can do, more fiddly bits than Cypher does. Cypher's baseline combat engine is fairly simple on purpose. I know. Interestingly, he also did power shifts, I noticed, which is the superhero thing. And so that does help push the character, which is how I'd probably do it too, because like the archetype being very powerful, you kind of need those power shifts to feel that way. Yeah, for sure. So this is a cool build. Yeah, we couldn't do the full version because 15 minutes is a little long even on 1.25. But I enjoyed this for a superhero game. It's nice to see a game just kind of trying something very different with its might pool, speed pool, and intellect pool, and your health are your resources that you use.
I like the kind of push your luck feel with that, where you could stretch yourself to just succeed on the thing, and it made you feel very heroic. And then especially in the superhero setting, like you would just weaken yourself by doing that, but overexerting yourself, and it felt like a better thematic for it than because it's just getting killed or whatever.
In that kind of superhero game we were running, which is very high fantasy superhero, right? It was like big. It wasn't a question of whether or not the superheroes would succeed based on chance. It's how much would they be willing to push themselves to save others, right?
Yeah.
Well, like in Zarek's game, that's a lower fantasy superhero world where the superheroes are kind of just people too, right? They're much more lower powered. There's nobody's like flying through walls and like picking up space stations and there's nothing quite that scale. It's much more contained.
Which I like, because it's a little more of a human story at that point versus I don't want to get you started on DC heroes, but
no. Yeah, this is the moment where I tricked everybody into this game design channel, and it's all been to convert it into a why Batman v Superman the movie is terrible. This is now what it is. The rest of the stream is just that. Well, thanks, Saraphys, for submitting that. It was really cool. Oh, and Alex, yeah, the submissions were over a month or two ago. We just had to put a cutoff, but we will do further submissions later. And thanks, Blaze, for unpacking that for him. All right. Another game that I think, Daniel, we played this a long time ago. Savage Worlds. Do you remember this? This is like 15
I have the
years
rulebook
ago.
for that somewhere.
It's a long time ago. So we've got Savage Goose's video. So Savage Goose, for those who don't know, is like the expert on Savage World. His YouTube channel is just talking Savage World, going over, because there's tons of new supplements that get released for it all the time. Oh, and yeah, Alex, if you do have
Barbarians are
something you'd like to submit, we just wouldn't be able to do it on the live stream, of course, but you're welcome to add it and just link it and do #GetBarbaric if you post it somewhere. And then people would be able to see it on the playlist if they search for Get Barbaric. Yeah, I'm liking the games you're working on, Alex. So Muscle Wizard cracked me up the other day. It was just really funny. Okay,
you were telling me about that.
Yeah, I was actually just hanging with Daniel the other day, and just telling him how cool and funny it was, the Muscle Wizard. I thought it was really, really great. So, all right, let's check out Savage Worlds, and we'll set you to 1.25. He is under the 10-minute mark by 11 seconds, so...
Barbarians are a standard archetype across all sorts of different tabletop role-playing games. But how can you make one in Savage Worlds? Now, like most games, there is a lot of different ways that you can make a barbarian in Savage Worlds. But for this video, we're going to try to make the most basic and standard barbarian that we can. To show how versatile the system is, I'm only going to be focusing on using the core rulebook for Savage Worlds. Once we create the character, we're also going to advance them up to the seasoned rank so that everyone can get an understanding of what I would do this character going forward. Now, the first thing you usually do when you create any character is deciding on your race. Just because I will make this video a little bit simpler and not focusing on race creation rules or all the different kinds of races that you can have, we're just going to make this character a standard human. Next, I like to start with hindrances. Hindrances are the flaws of your character. They also have certain benefits, but they are optional. Additionally, hindrances give you points that you can then spend on other things for your character, such as edges, attribute bonuses, or skills. Major hindrances are 2 points, and minor hindrances are 1 point. However, you can only benefit from up to 4 points of hindrances. Because I'm going for a very standard or very stereotypical kind of character, I'm going to go with mean as one of my minor hindrances, impulsive as one of my major hindrances, and illiterate as another minor. That gives me 4 points that I can spend. Impulsive gives your character a role-playing hindrance, which says that your character basically doesn't think before they act. And because the kind of character we're playing means it's probably going to be, we're going to fight it out immediately. You can probably guess what illiterate does, but to spell it out, it's a pun somewhere in there. To spell it out, though, you can't read or write. Mean, also kind of self-explanatory in that your character is just mean. They're not very nice. However, this does give you a mechanical hindrance as well, in that you get a -1 to all your persuasion rolls. Now, the next thing I like to look at is my background edges. Edges are the way that your character gains particular abilities. Because Savage Worlds is a classless system, they're usually defined by the skills and abilities that they have. And I always start with the background edges because, generally speaking, these are the backgrounds to your character. It explains who they are as you create your character. And because of that, they generally aren't available after character creation. Now, the defining edge for a barbarian is going to be the Berserk edge. Berserk says that immediately after you suffer a wound or a shaken result, your hero must make a smarts roll or go berserk. Something to note is that you can voluntarily fail this check if you'd like to. Going berserk has the following effects. First, Fury. The character's strength increases a die type, and every melee attack must be a wild attack. In Savage Worlds, any character can make a wild attack with a melee weapon. Wild attack gives you a +2 to your fighting roll, a +2 to your damage roll, but it makes you vulnerable until your next turn. Vulnerable means that any action performed against you gets a +2 bonus. Additionally, while furying, they cannot use any skills that require wit or concentration. However, they specifically call out that this means you could make threats and use intimidation. Additionally, when berserk, they are enraged. Adrenaline and rage fuel the berserker's muscles, adding +2 to your toughness. That means it's going to take more damage to hurt us going forward. Additionally, when going berserk, you ignore 1 level of wound penalties. In Savage Worlds, we don't have hit points. Instead, we have wounds. Every wound gives you a cumulative -1 to all your rolls. The third ability you get when you're berserking is you get Reckless Abandon. This is not really an ability, more of a penalty. Anytime you roll a critical failure on your fighting check, which is a 1 on your skill die and 1 on your wild die, you hit a random target within range for the attacker and not the intended target. Now, after 5 rounds of berserking, you then take a level of fatigue. After 10 rounds, you get another level of fatigue and you end your berserk. Fatigue is not ignored, and fatigue gives you an additional -1 penalty like wounds do. Additionally, once you take 3 levels of fatigue, you are incapacitated, and this particular ability does not say that you can't become incapacitated from it. Now, it does say you can choose to end your rage by making a smarts at -2 roll. However, we're probably also going to try to undo a berserk at the end of every turn, just so that we can hopefully ignore that level fatigue. Now, as a human, we don't get any sort of bonuses or extra abilities or starting skills, and instead, we just get 1 free edge, and we're going to take berserk as that free edge. Oh, and looking through the background edges, there was 2 that stood out to me. The first one was Brawny, and the second one was Brute. Brawny says that your size is +1, and you treat your strength as 1 die type higher when determining encumbrance, and your minimum strength to use armor, weapons, and equipment without a penalty. Brute allows you to connect athletics to strength instead of agility. Now, Brute seems like a really fun edge, but I don't think it's what I'm looking for this character. Brawny definitely makes sense. However, Brawny has a strength d6 and a vigor d6 requirement. Now, all attributes start with a d4 in each. At character creation, you get 5 points to spend on increasing attribute dies. So let's go ahead and spend 2 points to make sure that our strength and our vigor yank the requirement for Brawny. Now, in order to take this edge, we had to spend 2 of our hindrance points to do so. So now we're down to 2 hindrance points that we can spend on increasing an attribute, or we can use those as 2 different skill points, which will come later. All characters start out with a d4 in athletics, common knowledge, notice, persuasion, and stealth. Now we're playing Barbarian, which means that we want to be good at fighting, and fighting is tied to agility. I want to be decent at fighting starting out, so let's go ahead and spend 2 of our attribute points, increasing our agility from a d4 to a d8. Starting out, we get 12 points to spend on skills. And I'm going to spend 3 points to go get it in a d4, and then increase it to a d6, and then to a d8. Now, before I spend too much time on other skills, I want to look at my attributes, and I would think I want to increase my spirit to a d6. Spirit is what you use to unshake in combat. Now, earlier we did talk about intimidation as a thing that we can do while we are in a berserk. So let's go ahead and take intimidation, and intimidation is tied to spirit. So we can take this as a d6. When I think about a barbarian, I think about them being from the wild and having to go out and survive. And so I think taking survival as a skill is a good option. Now, survival is tied to smarts, so we can only take a d4 in it, but it's still better than not having it at all. And I'd also like to be able to taunt other characters, so I'm going to take taunt as a skill, but because it's tied to smarts, again, we're only going to take it at a d4. I also imagine that barbarians are likely good with horses and are good at riding them, so let's go ahead and give riding at a d6, and riding is tied to agility. I am a barbarian, I should be good at being athletic, and I have agility at a d8, so it's pretty easy for me to get that higher up. I think we'll just increase our persuasion from a d4 to a d6, because we have a spirit of d6. Now, this leaves us with 2 hindrance points to spend anywhere we want still. At character creation, we can use these to increase our attributes. However, during character progression, you only increase your attributes once per rank, which is essentially every 4 advances. Because we want to make sure that we can put out a lot of damage, I'm going to go ahead and increase our strength from a d6 to a d8. All characters start out with a 6 pace unless otherwise noted in their character, and we're going to give it a d6 running die. Parry is equal to 2 plus half your fighting die and any other bonuses from weapons or shields. Because our fighting is a d8, our parry is going to be 6. Toughness is equal to 2 plus half your vigor die, plus any bonuses. Our vigor is a d6, so our base is 5, plus we get a +1 from being brawny, making our toughness 6. So next, let's go ahead and talk about some gear that we're going to give this character at character creation. The first thing we want to do is to give this character a nice big weapon to use because they are a barbarian. Because of that, let's go ahead and give him a greatsword. Now, greatswords have a d10 minimum strength requirement. However, because we have a d8 in strength, and we have the brawny edge, we are allowed to get a d10 item with no penalties. And that's going to cost us 400 gold, but it'll be worth it for us. The damage is strength plus d10. We also want to take a look at some armor. Now, in other games, a lot of barbarians are limited in the kind of armor they can use, and a lot of them have some sort of unarmored ability. In the core Savage Worlds, that's not the case. Now, in the core rulebook, you start out with 500 credits, whatever the credits is, dollars, credits, coins, whatever. We already spent 400 of it on a greatsword. The way our character is, they could have up to d10 in armor. I mean, we could get full plate mail. Full plate mail costs a lot of money, and we don't have enough money to buy that. Looking over our options, we can really only get some thick leather jacket armor. This will give us a +2 to our toughness, but only to our torso. So what I'm going to do is mark our toughness as 8, and then in parentheses 2, we'll mark that 2 of the toughness is coming from armor. This helps with things like armor piercing, or if you're completely ignoring our armor by hitting a different area of our body, like our legs or our head, then our toughness is only 6. At this point, let's go ahead and advance our character to the seasoned rank. Frenzy says, as a limited action, a character with Frenzy may roll a second fighting die with any one of his fighting attacks for the turn. The extra die may be allocated to the same or different targets as he sees fit. Essentially what this says is I can hit 2 different enemies or the same enemy twice with 1 action of my fighting attack. Now we do meet the fighting requirement of a d8+, however we don't meet the seasoned requirement for rank. When it comes to seasoned, I want Frenzy. Now I do know that one of these novice ranks, I do want to increase my vigor die from a d6 to a d8. Now because we did that, it means our toughness now goes to 9. I think the other advance I want to do is to gain the Mighty Blow edge. Mighty Blow states that if your action card is a Joker, double the damage of your first successful fighting attack this round. Now we still have one more novice advance to do. Hey, Josh the editor here. Originally I suggested this character should have Strong-Willed. However, Strong-Willed requires a spirit of d8, which we do not have. So instead, I'm going to suggest that we give this character Nerves of Steel, which allows us to ignore 1 wound penalty. This will stack with Berserker, so when the character is berserking, they'll actually ignore 2 points of wound penalties, which will be really good for them in multiple areas. So that's what we're doing instead, Nerves of Steel. Back to the main video. And with that, we're done. This is how I would create a very standard barbarian in Savage Worlds. This is how I would create a very standard barbarian.
Okay. Unsurprisingly, a thorough video from the guy who is the Savage Worlds guy. It's funny. So, like, if I do a video on injuries or something or anything like that, and I don't mention Savage Worlds, Goose will, like, DM me and be like, dude, you didn't mention Savage Worlds again. It has a wound system. Is this my
this makes
video
me
really
want to go
old?
back and play Savage Worlds.
I know, right? Savage Worlds has a lot going for it. I think we started playing it at the wrong time. We were really into D&D at that time, and it was just too different for us. And what we wanted are because we were playing very high fantasy D&D, right? We were playing very high fantasy, and this isn't. I don't think Savage Worlds is as effective at that superhero type fantasy, right? The characters are more grounded, which I've come to respect more later on. Like now it's much more appealing looking, right?
Yeah. I mean, Tales from Elsewhere is very much grounded and gritty.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot that this game does well. Like that's why I like edges, like the way they do edges in Savage Worlds is very similar to the way they work in Tales from Elsewhere, because it's a good way to do it.
Because it works.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, like he went really standard, and Savage Worlds, especially with all of the splat books, there's a million of the splat books for Savage Worlds. He probably could have done something really wild, but this one's very classic, right? Big weapon, can rage. The ignoring wounds is actually really big in that game. Wounds are stacking numerical penalties in Savage Worlds. So you don't have hit points, but these wounds stack up, and every wound gives you a -1 penalty, basically. And in a game with really somewhat flat math, like Savage Worlds has, those penalties really do add up. Yeah, so very cool. I feel like I'm not capable of giving a good analysis of Savage Worlds, like that Savage Goose would not mock me for later. Like I'm going to say something wrong. I'm sorry, buddy. No, he's great. He has a whole YouTube channel about Savage Worlds. So if people are interested in learning more about Savage Worlds, his channel, The Savage Goose, is like it's pretty much the best Savage Worlds YouTube channel out there. It's incredibly thorough for like Savage Worlds news, games, all of that.
So I had a couple of thoughts before we move on to the next one.
Oh yeah, please.
I think Wild Attack fits really well for the Barbarian theme.
Yeah, right.
And then the other one was, he was forced to buy a cheaper armor, but I feel like the leather armor fits kind of the classic vision of the Barbarian, who's like not actually all that armor clad.
Exactly. All offense, right, rather than tanky. And interestingly, in like Conan the Barbarian actually did wear armor a lot, which is kind of interesting. I know, like on the covers, he's in a loincloth.
Yeah.
But pretty frequently. And yes, some people are asking like, where do theirs? So, some of y'all's are pretty. They're coming up. We only have a few more. We're down to the last 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 more. So I know the stream is long, but appreciate y'all sticking it out. This makes me just want to play Savage Worlds again. Yeah, it's because this guy's really good at presenting this system, and he knows what's up. Oh, it's Frank and Charles's video. I have no idea what this one's going to talk about.
Hello,
Blaze. Yours is soon, I swear. Yours is next, Blaze. Okay. Okay, this one's 26 minutes, but I seem to remember he timestamped this, or I asked him to. So hold, please, while I double check timestamps, because we ain't doing 26 minutes. As much as I like Frank and... Oh, he did timestamp it. Cool. 11:14. Love Frank and Charles. Love you guys. But no, you guys don't get to have 25 minutes. Okay. I think about 11 minutes here. Okay. Did that not work? Oh, it's loading. Come on. So, and it makes sense that their video is fairly long. Their format is long form podcast, right? So they talk for a while on their episodes. Okay, here we go.
Subclass actually did that.
All right.
I had a version where you can spend your die and move characters that much. And so that was kind of the idea, is keeping that part integral from a mechanical standpoint, whilst being able to translate it to a different edition.
All right.
But then there's the Barbarian Path of the Machinist.
Path of the Machinist.
Yes. Okay. And this one was definitely I had a really cool idea first. of like the mechanics, and then I was able to craft a very interesting flavor that then informed more of the mechanics, so on and so forth.
So from just hearing the title of it almost sounds like an artificer barbarian.
Yeah, what would you like when you hear that? Before I even describe any of it to you, what comes to your mind?
You said mechanist, not machinist. But
yeah, they're the same thing.
Similar? Okay, so to me it sounds like they'd be proficient like in some sort of armor and like almost like a mech, like they'd have some sort of protection. So
okay, so maybe I need to change the name because that's not at all what it's about.
Oh, okay. Hey, maybe let me know in the comments what you think it might mean.
But basically, this version was what of a barbarian that's slowly replacing their body with metal bits or robotic bits.
No, your name still works.
Yeah, so that's the idea there. And when we get to the part that I really had the idea for, you might be able to figure it out. We'll see, but we're just gonna go through it.
Sounds good.
The first ability you get at 3rd level is being able to choose what part of your body you're replacing. Do you replace your arms? Do you replace your legs? Or do you replace your torso?
So this is replacing and augmenting as well. Like, do you get some sort of buff with that? Okay.
Starting when you choose this path at 3rd level, you're able to replace some part of your body with a newer, better mechanical version. You must pick one part of your body, arms, legs, or torso, and replace it with metal forged into the shape of that body part. This process takes a long rest to complete and is believed that you have been collecting and working on the materials needed to have this new body part ahead of time. That way you don't have that GM who's like, where you need the supplies to do it.
So I'm assuming each of these body parts would give you some sort of enhanced ability, like would do it to your legs, so that gave you extra speed, like it makes you move faster.
Exactly.
And then armor for the chest, and then attack for the arms.
Yeah, you're pretty close for sure to my design. So that's good that like it's intuitive.
Yeah,
legs speed is increased by 10. Torso +2 to your AC if you're not wearing any armor, which you're a barbarian, you're already not wearing any armor. But then you have arms. When you rage, your rage damage bonus to damage rolls is doubled. Now, that might be too strong.
Yeah, I'm thinking man, especially at 3rd level.
Right. Maybe it's a +1 instead. Yeah. I don't know. This is where playtesting becomes very important because the math of this stuff is what's necessary.
So that's something to keep in mind too, is that when you're creating these things, you're going to need to play test them because, again, it may be way overpowered, maybe too weak. You won't know until you play it.
Yeah, my philosophy when it comes to anything, if you're like, I don't know if this could be overpowered, go with the overpowered version. It's almost always easier to scale back than it is to push forward.
Yeah, because I can't tell you how many times I was like, oh man, when I try to homebrew something, I'm like, I want this thing to be more powerful, but I've made them way too weak. So what do I do?
So then we have the 6th level ability, which usually is like a ribbon ability for the barbarian, the one that's doesn't matter too much. At 6th level, you learn that while these parts are helpful, they need to be worked on in order to avoid a malfunction. You gain the following benefit depending on which body part you chose at 3rd level. If you chose arm, you gain proficiency in leatherworks tools. In legs, you get proficiency in tinker's tools, and in torso, you get proficiency in smithing tools. In hindsight, I definitely would have changed this to where
instead of ask if that was arbitrary or if you.
I think I was thinking because I definitely had the design philosophy of this based off of the totem barbarian.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
Which they even said, in the rework of 5th edition, they're like, we never intended for you to only choose one totem.
Yeah.
You could re-choose each time. And in my head, I'm like, I have to have it be the same one. And so you made that choice, you've already locked in. And so this was kind of the way to make it to where sure, the arms give you a lot of damage, but you're getting leather work tools versus the legs, which give you tinker's tools, which is a lot better.
Yeah.
Right. I think reworking this, I probably would have said you get your choice of proficiency in one of these 3 tools.
Yeah, I think that's a good workaround for that.
At level 10, the metal connected to your body has made you immune to disease and poison.
I think it's a good one. That tracks. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, you've literally had that for parts of you for so long.
I was a warforged, and I think I was immune to poison.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is if other classes or races or stuff like that already have that ability locked in, being able to say it's already been is there a way they could have gotten this earlier? Okay. Then giving it to them at this point isn't bad. Is it weak? That's where you're going to have to think about. Yeah, there's a lot of things where it's the barbarian at 1st level gets resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. So then add a 3rd level subclass for another class if they get resistance to that stuff. Is it as strong? No, because the barbarian got it at 1st level. Yeah. Right? That's kind of the thing you want to think about.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but obviously you don't want to be doing that for every subclass because then it's not as interesting, right? Again, it goes back to the whole mechanics need to be unique.
Yeah, you got to diversify your subclasses because you want to make them interesting and you want to make them desirable desirable to play too. Because there are times I've looked at characters, I'm like, I would never play this because it does not seem like it'd be a fun. I think it's where we come across with the cleric problem, the healer support characters, because I think people are doing a better job of it now, but like it's one of those things, like it doesn't make it as interesting, so people are less likely to play cleric.
Well, that's why in 5th edition they bumped up the cleric. But like it much like we're seeing in like Marvel Rivals, for example, where like the healers are such good at dealing damage, it's almost like why play a damage.
I think they're now off the subject of their build. The podcast continues for some time, for another 10 minutes. So we'll get out of the way, like, boo, 5th edition. So Frank and Charles are very cool. I've never heard of like the cyborg barbarian approach for D&D. I think that's pretty neat. This would be good in like Eberron, probably, like one of the more science-y style ones. So that's very cool. Let me go back. While I go back, Daniel, if you want to.
So this was for a barbarian subclass.
Yeah. This is a subclass, is what they went with. Don't know if I'll be able to. There it is. Path of the Machinist. There it is. So I can actually take a look a little bit here. I mean, you know me. I'm a fan of like cybernetic replacement stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of that in TFE. So.
Well, yeah. It especially the part where it's a long rest to install these things, and I was thinking about in Tales from Elsewhere, you need your long rest, I think, to replace destroyed limbs.
Right. You need a I think you need a if your limbs get really messed up, it's a reprieve. But cybernetic limbs can be repaired during breathers. It's something you can do. But anyway, we don't need to talk about Clockworld. I actually don't think that doubling rage damage is overpowered. To be honest, it's 2 at character creation, so you're just getting +2 damage to attacks. I don't think anything they described here is actually OP. I say they could actually get rid of that. I think they could push this even further. That would be, Frank and Charles, let's talk more game design. I think you could push this concept even weirder, even more, right? Let's get weird with it. These are mechanically effective choices, though. Like +2 AC is quite good. It's like basically being able to wear a shield. 10 movement speed on the Barbarians, which already get 10 more movement speed at some in tier 1 at one point. Make them pretty fast. It's pretty decent. And more rage damage is nice. When I saw arms, I was thinking, like, I wonder if they're going to do unarmed, if you could do, like, punchy Barbarian.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah, it's neat. Be getting immunities, like, immune to poison and disease at upper levels, very decent. I would actually, I know we're not here to, like, critique, but because this is a 5th edition thing, I feel like I can. Frank and Charles, when and if you watch this, give them proficiency and expertise with it. Now it's a little bit stronger. Because just tool proficiency, I think, isn't quite strong enough for a level 6 feature, even as a ribbon. But tool proficiency plus expertise in it, maybe a little bit more evocative. Oh, and I see Sabrox in chat. I know you're always down to boo 5th edition, my friend. It's okay, like Daniel and I just were at a D&D game last night that was super fun. It's fun not because D&D is the best game, but because we have a fun D&D group that we play with, right? We'll have fun no matter what. Yeah. That one. That's the one with the really great set design on all of our sessions. Yeah, good stuff, Frank and Charles. Good stuff. All right, Blaze, you've been so patient, my friend. So patient. It's time for IshanekonWorldShapers. This is a game that I have played, but I have not watched this video yet. So I'm pretty familiar with the game. So yeah, thank you, my friend. From across the seas, we will now watch yours. So let me get this set up.
It is time to get barbaric! Peter from Tales of Elsewhere and Zarek from Indominant has challenged the internet to show them how to create the barbarian in their own tabletop RPGs. I, Blaze Reason, accept the challenge with IshanekonWorldShapers. But you think I'm going to show you just one build? No. IshanekonWorldShapers has over 2,000 character options. I'm going to show you a lot of ways to build barbarians. But we gotta be quick since I only have 10 minutes. Let's go! Chapter 1. Barbarian Rage. The classic way to depict the primitive rage of the barbarian is with a buff that you use at the start of combat, greatly improving your combat proficiency. If you're just looking for that, you can actually just take one buff ability and put it on pretty much any sort of martial character. we've got some great options like Battle Rage, which reduces your mental stats but boosts your physical stats in exchange. Stone Spirit, increasing your armor and making your strikes more vicious. Or how about Zealot Spirit, if you want some Deus Volt flavor in there. Or how about Giant's Rage, increasing your size and your physical strength, striking your enemies from above. Not enough risk? How about Soaring State, giving you a massive boost across the board, but damaging you every round, allowing you to even stack that bonus for devastating effects to your enemies and yourself. Or Berserker Frenzy, giving you resistance to all damage, giving you extra action points, which is really hard in IshanekonWorldShapers, with the slight risk of, maybe clobbering your allies on accident. Accidents happen. But if you really want to invest into that sort of rage and self-buff, then I recommend the Berserker. Get your buffs online faster, stronger, regenerate health while doing it, and just be a beast on the battlefield. Or how about getting a bit creative? Maybe pick the anomaly and randomly trigger massive rage boosts when you least expect it, and more importantly, when your enemy least expect it. Or how about taking the greater talent Second Phase, automatically triggering the buff on yourself when your vitality goes below half. Turn your character into a boss with a second phase. Yeah. You want more of an anime flavor? Explosive Transformation. Use your self buff and boom! Explode, damaging everybody around you. You want some of that barbaric rage as a caster? Take the Channeler, channeling the power of those buffs into your abilities for devastating effect. Chapter 2. Miko Punk! What is a barbarian if not somebody who just hits really hard without any real plan? The purest manifestation of that is the Brute, who just spends all of the action points for one devastating attack. Or how about the Rusher, who just storms into battle with mighty attacks without any sort of backup plan? Yeah, but those enemies, they're taunting you. There's more than one of them. All those little goblins. How about you give them some Cleave or Whirlwind's Attack, Seismic Attack, or even the Meteor Attack. And you want to go all out with that? Take the Whirlwind and become a specialist in just cleaving through hordes of enemies. They don't stand a chance. Chapter 3. I am too angry to die! Barbarians are tanky and they don't need armor for that. They just want to refuse to die? Take the Juggernaut, who can just ignore lethal blows. Or how about the hero who gets tankier the more dire the situation? Being outnumbered, being outgunned, that's no problem for the hero. Your rage can power through any sort of enemy, and you don't need armor. Fighting without armor is completely viable, without needing some special features. But you don't just want to dodge attacks, right? You want to block the enemy swords with your packs of steel. Then you can take the Bodybuilder, who gets a massive boost to your armor value while they're not wearing any armor. Or how about taking the Prodigy, so that you get natural armor for literal packs of steel? Another interesting option, the Wrestler, who can endure pain, but is also great for grappling foes. For a different kind of barbarian, right? There's some nice abilities to help reinforce that fantasy. With Resist, you can ignore damage. With Defy, you can power through those defense rolls. And there's the greater talent's Unstoppable Force, which allows you to fight even when you should be unconscious. Nobody's taking you down. Nobody! And you can top that with Immortal Force, which makes you literally unkillable in the first 7 rounds of combat. They won't kill you. Nothing can kill you. Chapter 4. Carnage fills me. Barbarians are made for their battlefield, and where others wimp out, they'll get stronger, fueled by the blood of their enemies. We've got the Retaliator, who gets stronger the more they get attacked. Or the Vindicator, who gets stronger the more you attack their allies. The Conqueror just gets stronger and stronger the longer the battle goes on. The Executioner gets buffs when they kill enemies and will strike enemies that are near death. The Blood Drinker heals himself every time they strike the enemy, being fueled by the bloodlust. Or maybe you want to be more animalistic, like the Predator. There are so many options in IshanekonWorldShapers, and it's all for free. And these are not the only ways to build a barbarian. There are so many ways, but I'm not going to spoil all of them here. Mainly because it wouldn't fit in a 10-minute video, but also because I want you to have the joy to explore those options yourself and show me what kind of creative barbarians you can make. This is my entry for the Get Barbaric Challenge. I'll see you on the battlefield.
Blaze, my friend, I was so worried for your mic that whole video because you were getting so into it. I was like, oh man, he's going to hit the mic. He's going to hit the mic. That was great. I'll let, really, there is a YouTube channel for this. There's links to his website, his Discord server. Oops. Just to mention real quick before we talk about his submission. It's all on a website with an online character builder and monster builder, and it's all free. It's like Blaze is like a one-man army of development. Like he's made this whole thing himself, and like every other day, I feel like I get a message from him. It's like I just built a whole nother archetype and power set for it. It's just like he keeps adding to it endlessly. It's awesome. And I did get a chance. I've played it twice. I got to play it in one of his arenas. And then we did a collab a couple weeks ago where he ran, so like in that you can do any setting. And so we did like a Western setting, like a Tales from Elsewhere scene, but in IshanekonWorldShapers, which was very cool. And I made a gunslinger for it, of course.
Nice.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to the game. Like the vastness is immense. I mean, that's what really his video was about. It's just like, here's a small fraction of all the different ways you could make it. It's a lot to.
You know what he captured, which we don't see enough of with barbarians, is but how metal barbarians are.
Right? Yeah, just like absolutely. He's got the end. I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of Blaze. Blaze organizes a lot of collaborations. He's a really cool guy. But we got to separate the man from the game system for a moment because we're all big fans of the guy. Now, well, in his game, I'll just pull up one of the features here. So, no matter if you're casting a spell or using like a combat maneuver, everything kind of like in 4th edition D&D, just to draw a brief parallel, because I know you haven't played his game before, Daniel. You know, everything is a discrete ability, and so. It doesn't matter if you're a wizard or a superhero or a barbarian, you have as many fun toys as any other character. Like you can still do cool things on a turn. You're not limited like that, which I think is really cool.
I enjoyed the maneuvers for the melee classes back in 4th edition. Like, I thought it was cool that they had a kit to do things rather than just attack every turn.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're not just I attack, and I attack. I even tried to kind of make a simple character myself when I played in his game, just because I didn't want to overwhelm my decisions and I wanted to make something fairly simple. But I still had like a quick shot with my revolver. I still had a number of features, even though we were, I'm going to put quotes, low level. Yeah, it's very interesting. And the way that you build monsters in the system is you just use this same staggeringly large amount of features and you can build a monster from that as well. It's
kind of cool.
Neat. Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool.
I thought the Immortal Force feature was very cool, where they just can't die.
You just can't die.
For the first like 7 turns of combat or something like that.
Right.
I thought that one was really cool because eventually they'll run out of steam, but like at the start they just come out fast and hard and
right. That was great. Or he talked about trying to find the exact timestamps here, but. He talked about you can go full anime, so you could do, like Dragon Ball Z, like, big burst of energy. Instead of just I rage, like I use my bonus action to start raging, it could be this big, like, explosive ability, which is very evocative.
He also talked about, I don't know if this was an ability or just a feature of the game, but hitting allies on accident. That resonated with me.
Yeah, and I don't remember, there was a lot going on here, because you do have a class. You have these archetypes you pick that do give you some more narrow focus, and then all the abilities are more broken apart by that. Yeah, that was really cool too. the bodybuilder, is also he's just in sandals in this. It's great because again, it's a generic system in that you can run kind of anything in it. Yeah, very cool stuff. Yeah, very fun. Yeah, I was trying to find the unstoppable timestamp, but that's okay. Excuse me. I mean the one where you just don't die.
Yeah.
But it was somewhere around here. Oh, there it is. Immortal Force. You cannot die during the first 7 rounds of combat. It's great.
That's great.
It's like, guys, we got to finish this fight now. Yeah, it's great. And I know that Gold in chat was just kind of mentioning it. So yeah, there's a million things, but he's added a tag to like every feature that is like the beginner tag, and so you can filter on his site to just show me the beginner stuff. To make it a little bit simpler. Like he's done some smart guidance there, because when you have a game as expansive as this and you say something like go make a character, like I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
That's smart design, Blaze. Great. Yeah, we got to say again, great energy in this video. It's so good.
Yeah, he embodied the barbarian.
Exactly. I was just real worried about your mic, dude, as you were saying it. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks for your patience. I know you got your submission in, and it was in time, and then the randomization on my 1 to 100 roll was 91. So you were toward the end there. Buddy. All right, let's see what our next one is. We've got a handful more. Here. So if you guys are in the last set there, sorry, but the dice have spoken. Okay. Let's see here on our timestamp. Okay, this one's 13. So I'm going to need to turn up the speed a bit here.
Rank it up to 11.
Gonna have to turn it up a bit. Let's see. So this one's 13 minutes. Let me check the timestamps on it. I'll just hold really quick to see if we can... Okay, no timestamp. So we'll start it off, and we just may have to hop around just a scotch, but I don't want to cut people off.
The psychopathology of the Barbarian.
This is my somewhat satirical submission for the Get Barbaric challenge by Tales of Elsewhere. Howdy Pete, challenge accepted. Isn't it curious that we always explore power fantasies and what awesome and mighty things our rage-fueled barbarian sub-archetypes can do, instead of fleshing out the why of those destructive hissy fits of your character? Mental health is an important issue in a modern, sad and beautiful world, and role-playing can be an effective tool to take off the edges of our psychological needs. Especially the barbarian archetype allows for a playful approach to and awareness of deep-rooted mental issues. I want to introduce a system-agnostic game mechanic which you can add to each and every of your easily angered protagonists, even to those of non-barbaric conviction. While flavor is usually free in most RPG systems, you may, with GM Fiat, link barbarian psychopathologies to actual game mechanics. For those of you playing with resources to feed your rage, you can easily add a homebrew rule to recharge 1 rage per day point when showing your mental disorder in a non-combat scene, once per session. In my humble opinion, this is hardly breaking the game, while improving the dramaturgy of characters if applied in moderation. Well met, angry traveler. I am the warrior philosopher. Welcome to a fantastic pantheon of popular psychopathologies, Part 1. Disclaimer. Be aware of the unhealthy amount of bad puns in the following list. And yes, I should go to the penitentiary for this, but I am a pun-barian at heart. Now let's view our favorite psychotic warrior archetype in fantasy through the lens of mental health.
The Fair Barian.
You are a compulsive vigilante, the very paragon of a goody-two-shoes character who actually feels guilty after each fit of rage. You're triggered by injustice and senseless cruelty, while ironically bursting into fits of senseless cruelty and blind rage yourself. You probably have the folk hero background, rage flavor, a stern and disapproving look reserved for those nasty villains, peppered with occasional battle cries like "Honor above all" or "Vade retro satana." Psychopathology, chronic helper syndrome, pathologic altruism.
Special case, the Fair Barian.
You're fixated on the protector role for a select few, usually the party and a couple of nice-looking NPCs, while having violent reservations towards odd-looking strangers. Always prepared to play the martyr for the party while awkwardly overprotecting your comrades. You're triggered by friends getting hurt and possible danger to the party. Probably a multi-class with Cleric. Rage Flavor, extra polite to members of the in-group, with frequent inquiries of, "Are you alright?" while grudgingly vengeful to the out-group. "You will regret hurting my friends." Special Psychopathology, Obsessive Compulsive Disorder or OCD, Chronic Helper Syndrome with a spoonful of paranoia.
The Hairbrained Barbarian.
You have an easily triggered personality with stupidity for a superpower. Perfect for those who want to roleplay the heck out of their intelligence dump stat. If your charisma is low as well, self-neglect and a spoonful of inferiority complex can be thrown into the mix too. The quote, "Violence is the last resort of the inept," was invented for this specific barbarian psychopathology. You are triggered by situations and statements that aren't fully understood and or make your character feel stupid. You probably have cognitive characteristics fairly below average. Rage flavor, basically everything works as long as the rage is sufficiently moronic and hilarious. Psychopathology, mental retardation, intellectual disability or ID.
The Barbarian.
You are the humanoid equivalent of a paranoid chihuahua on amphetamines. Certain nefarious forces are out there to get you, and basically everybody could be an undercover spy or assassin. Be vigilant, always. The angsty poster child of the anger stems from fear crowd of psychologists. Be the specific terror of death itself, necrophobia, the irrational and disproportional fear of G's, purophobia, or any racially, politically, or religiously biased bigotry. There are a lot of things to be fearful and angry about at the same time. You are triggered by perceived and actual threat, initiated by your favorite enemy or scare of choice. You're probably a multiclass with Ranger. Rage flavor, a cautious kind of calculated, cold-blooded rage mixed with frequent stereotypical outbursts such as, "Only a dead fairy is a good fairy." You have no qualms to ruthlessly slaughter those who incite xenophobia within you. Psychopathology, phobias, paranoia, pathological prejudice.
That's the case. The Grudge Bearer, or the Grudge Barbarian.
They shall never hear the end of it. You're an arrogant collector of animosities, vendettas, and grievances, who bears grudges for sport and revels in resentment. You actually have killing lists, and are allergic to compromise. You're triggered by having been wronged in the past, and possessing a never-ebbing thirst for vengeance. You're probably a multiclass with Assassin Rogue, and or a Grumpy Dwarf. Rage flavor, you can help it, grinning eerily or laughing out loud when hurting the bearers of your ire. Special Psychopathology, Narcissistic Injury.
The Barbarian.
Either a Jekyll and Hyde Barbarian in constant combat with its dark passenger, or a confused tribe of one, possessed by a multitude of spirits fighting for dominance. In a high magic setting, one may transmogrify into all kinds and sizes of monstrosities, while in more mundane environments, the transformation is merely psychological. The change of personality may even be caused by parasitic ghosts, the share variant if you will, or by being infected by a zombie fungus. Choose a variant that fits the setting and world building of your GM best. Fun fact, the infectious curse suffered by a warehouse is called Hocusantropy. You know that now. You're triggered by the full moon, sleepwalking, animal pelts, pain, seances, or merely high blood pressure. You probably have a bushy monobrow above the peepers. Rage flavor, a significant change of character and or appearance while raging. Psychopathology can be magical, schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder or MPD, infection by a sentient pathogen, or good old lycanthropy.
Special case, the Barbarian.
This is a fun one. You always change shape into a hairy monstrosity, similar to Bigfoot or Chewbacca, but your hair stays after changing back to your docile humanoid form. There's a chance to trip over your own beard and fur when not shaving after the last rage. You're triggered by the same things as a regular barbarian. Rage flavor, a whirlwind of fur, fangs, and fury. Special Psychopathology, magical, spontaneous hirsutism.
The Barbarian.
You represent a quite unusual, almost pacifistic barbarian psychopathology and have your anger issues mostly under control. The rages are a melange of passive-aggressive behavior, doom and glooming, and a certain type of psychic vampirism, sucking every ounce of joy out of everyone. Beware of friendly fire with your powerful psychic AoE attacks. While not sporting significant rage damage benefits in combat, you rather sue lethargy, reducing the will to live along with the defensive capabilities of your victims. You're triggered by intimidating, aggressive, or toxic positive behavior. Sometimes the mere desire to ruin someone's day may suffice as well. Rage flavor, think of the glowing eyes of Colin Robinson in the show What We Do in the Shadows. Psychopathology, major depressive disorder or MDD, post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, bipolar disorder, the depressive phase.
Special case, the Barbarian.
perfect for rhetorically challenged players. A mixture of the Barbarian's passive aggression with a fierce passion for the silent treatment. Depending on the magical level of your adventure, the result of said treatment may range from mere intimidation to the equivalent of a Medusa's petrifying gaze. Check with your GM for details and restrictions.
The Barbarian
Includes yes men, sycophants, simps, zealots, fanatics, cultists, and basically everyone with an irresistible urge to follow orders by any kind of perceived authority, alpha animals, or idols. Triggered by any and every belittlement of or attack on their revered crush. Specific orders by the idolized figure or institution may induce violent outbursts as well. If multiclassed with Warlock, the idol may represent or replace the Pact Patron. Rage flavor probably waves a flag or wears a silly hat to show allegiance to their exclusive in-group. Psychopathology, celebrity obsession disorder, or COD.
Uppercase, the Barbarian.
You're an NPC, henchman, mook, hired muscle, minion, or sidekick. You excel in being insignificant, cheap, and easily replaceable. Just instantly come up with another Barbarian if your character dies. HR teleports in immediate replacement 1 round after your demise. If your Lisa has booked the premium package, of course. You may or may not have developed an unhealthy codependence with a choleric Barbarian. See part 2 of the series Tribal X Edition. Triggered by contract, money, helpless, subservience, or blind obedience. Probably has a strange compulsion to wear red tunics. Rage flavor, half-hearted battle cries, interrupted by muttered complaints about those terrible working conditions. Or grudging niceties towards a person of authority. Special, level up options to become a choleric Barbarian yourself, or even a BBAG, aka the Barbarian. Yeah, just add a ton of HP, damage, or lair actions if you happen to play with those. Congrats, your character has become another GM asset, out of your control. Time to make a new character. Psychopathology, Stockholm Syndrome, Imposter Syndrome, has very low self-esteem and shows symptoms of slave mentality. The next one is an unpaid advertisement.
The Barbarian.
A Warforged Barbarian designed in Siliconia by Apple Artificers. A tech flavor sleeve for all your Barbarian desires. They come in colors and with 3 Thunderbolt ports. Send me stuff, Tim Cook. Triggered by electricity surges and insufficient debugging of the operating system. Rage flavor, theory phrases. Psychopathology, defective AI. Disclaimer. I mean no disrespect to anybody suffering from mental or physical disabilities. This role-playing supplement is designed to raise awareness to many unfortunate fellow humans afflicted with painful disorders and chronic diseases by imaginarily walking a few steps in their shoes. I hope I got your creative juices flowing when it comes to flesh out the Barbarian of your role-playing dreams. I encourage you to pick up the torch and hit me with all your crazy concepts and puns that come to your glorious minds. Thanks for watching.
We don't want to spoil part 2, but I do look for it. Well, that was awesome. Talk about like that was probably the most unique submission of all of them. I think you're the only one that did more of a guide for being a barbarian or playing a barbarian, no matter what system you're in, which is super cool.
Which was your favorite psychopathology?
Oh, that's tough, especially because I just see that the Swearbarian is coming up, and I don't know what that is yet. That's tough. I liked the one just because it was a. Let me see here. The harebrained barbarian is pretty funny. That's what you see a lot of D&D players do. Is they'll play the big doofus, but when we were playing Dark Sun, I was more of the Carebarian. Right, that's kind of how my character was, like trying to self-sacrifice and protect others. So I like playing that form of barbarian, right? Trying to lay down his life for others. But yeah, that was super cool.
That was great.
Yeah. So and are all of these are all you, aren't they, Piotr? Right? Like your cosplay is on. I mean, obviously, except like this picture of from movies.
Yeah.
Let's see if he, I think he's still in chat. Yeah, it looks like he is. Yeah, you're obviously not this actor. But yeah, great cosplay, great costuming and all that on this. This is so good. I feel like I need to digest this one longer. Anyway,
I like the Barbarian.
The Barbarian, yeah. And yeah, we actually just finished a fairly lengthy Dark Sun game that we were playing.
It was fun.
Yeah.
But it's such a bleak world. Like, I was happy to move into a campaign that's a little more lively.
Yeah. It was nice to. It's nice to go to Dark Sun and play there for a while, and then switch to something a little bit lighter, a little bit more high energy, where you get to be high fantasy again. Yeah, we like Dark Sun, for sure. All right, there's just a couple more, y'all. Couple more. We're making it through. Yeah, all those photos were absolutely good. All right, Master Lord Baron. Baron here is the next one. Let's check the time on it. Okay. And I'm going to start this one, and I will be right back super fast. But I'm going to start it, and I will be able to hear it. But I'll be off camera for just a sec.
Brute force isn't working. You're not using enough of it. Let's get barbaric. I am Goblin Lord Sohei. You might remember me from pillaging your village or some such, but today I'm only here as human head resources. Yes, this means you've been conscripted into becoming a brute. What the hell did you think was going to happen when you clicked on that hashtag Get Barbaric? The Master Lord Baron system is based on the mathematically proven fact that when a human dies, it becomes 5 goblins. However, this isn't the time nor the place to find your 5 inner goblins. So this training session will focus on grit, game, and a little bit of gore. Yes, us goblins love the letter G. Get goose to it. Grit is to attack, gore is your hit points, and game is your class. But because most of us can't count to Barbarian, we call it Brute. This handy little card shows you what's fundamentally different between the Brute and the other games in town. The first difference is if they roll a D-Grit and they get the highest number from their dice, they move up the ladder and pick a bigger dice for their Grit bonus. You will also get another ladder for your Brute, which we'll call D-Brute, which will normally complement your D-Grit. This is to emphasize the concept that you're all about crushing your enemies. However, your D-Brute ladder tends to ascend, which means growing up the ladder rather than going down like most other games. This reflects that you're kind of an emotional type of guy. You got to build up to it, Now the next 2 things are the meat and bloody parts, the rage triggers, and the tribal rituals. Now being a brute may come with some restrictions, but we'll figure that out later. This is Gyon Gwick, an old pal of mine. He's gonna assist me in the demonstration. When Guan was a wee little goblin, a human adventurer came by his cave and set fire to his doghouse. Ever since then, Gwick is overly caring about pets, whether it's a steed, an animal companion, a wizard's familiar, and even that time when it took him 5 months to realize the rabbit was a druid all along. Gyon Gwick always grows very fond of them quickly, and that's why we'll call his primary trigger, You Kicked My Dog. So once triggered, Gyon is gonna start at the bottom of his D-Brute dice ladder, rolls a D4, and the result determines the bonus he gets to his D-Grit roll for attack, but also how long it's gonna last. And then he's gonna go up that ladder to D6 and then to D8. This is what's called the wind-up. Once he reaches maximum rage, which is the biggest dice, that's what we call the peak. Now the default rage would simply go back down the ladder, which is called winding down. However, there are secondary options that open up, but these options take a little bit of time to learn, and they have to be learned diegetically, which means it has to be something that he tries during actual gameplay and fail and succeed a few times before he can do it at will without risking failure. In the case of Gyon, he has this thing called You Killed My Dog. Now, I'll spare you an explanation of the game jargon here, but needless to say, this is both an escalation of the situation and of his rampaging damage. That's when you have to deal with the Berserk version, but it doesn't mean the animals literally have to die. But I do know the party's pets got pretty good at rolling over and pretend to die, but at the very minimum, the benefit is that he keeps peaking for as many rounds as he rolls on his D-Brute. And if he's developed another one of those secondary abilities, say something like Animal Rageavis, where any animal ally will gain the same benefit as his raging ass. Of course, the more complex or powerful these secondary abilities are, the longer it takes at the experimental stage to make sure they work properly, the more successes he'll need to add it to his arsenal permanently. But also there's a price to pay to extend his peak like this. For every secondary ability he uses, he's gonna get a level of exhaustion afterwards. Alright, enough of anger management. Time to move on to the tribal rituals. Alongside the elders of his tribe, Gyon Gwick learned that a very challenging prey has an even bigger prize. He's learned to examine carcasses very carefully and pick up some pieces of any beast and turn it into a weapon. There's maybe a little bit of carving, of ornamenting involved, but with just a little bit of downtime, he can prepare this for any following battle. This traditional weapon is a fail-safe when you can't find anything to rage about. While rituals work a little bit different from the rage, they still need to ramp up a bit, but they still have secondary abilities that can be developed to last a little bit longer. So once prepared, John Quick can start bashing some heads in. While this ritual weapon will provide him with a bonus to D-Grit similar to Rage, he has to roll that dice every round. In the event of a crit, or let's say the highest number on whatever dice he's rolling, his D-Brute will upgrade to the next step of his D-Brute ladder. In fact, for rituals, he can even go 2 steps higher than his D-Brute limit. However, that's as high as it can go. In Quick's case, if ever he hits that 12 once he's at the D12 level, the primal spirits that was enshrined in the weapon now dissipates, dispels. Even the item is destroyed. However you want to phrase it, it's not usable anymore. He'll just need to find a new fresh kill to make a new one. Anytime he hits a crit, it's basically the equivalent of peaking for raid, and he can decide to substitute the ability of his weapon for something else. Some secondary ability, like this one here, Deadbeat, an undead slayer version of his weapon where he gains advantage against the undead, rolling 2D brute and picking the highest one as the bonus to his D-Grit roll. Or he could use the Dead End task, which is releasing that primal energy in one sudden violent lashing out of that spirit, using all of the D-Brute in his ladder and rolling it at once as a pool. But a pool of dice is extreme and would immediately destroy any tribal ritual item. Using these secondary abilities, this effectively extends the life of the item by maintaining it in the current step of the dice ladder. I'm calling that phase the upsurge for now, but I don't feel like it's gonna stick. And that's kind of a good reminder too, to give some flavor to those things, because it's a great way, I think, to build some traits for your character, to flesh out some tics, some likes and dislikes, some cultural background, and how he interacts with his allies and his enemies and everything in between. Anyway, there's still plenty of heads to roll in our HR before this is anything final, but I hope it's been at least intriguing enough. This pretty much summed up the Barbarian version of the Lord Master Baron system. And a big shout out to Peter from the Tales from Elsewhere and Zarek from Odin's Key Gaming, who started this whole challenge #GetBarbaric. Once this barbaric mania is over, they'll stream a reaction video to all the submissions to the challenge. You can check some more information in the description below.
Well, that was the production value on that was incredible.
Yeah, the art and animation was fantastic.
Yeah, I think that might have been this could have been a VTuber type avatar where it's auto animates.
It looks like Adobe Character Animator to me.
I know very little about that sort of thing. But yeah, really, just everything about this is incredibly high quality. This was a almost late submission. Not late, but at the very end. So I haven't looked at anything about this game yet. But it's interesting. It looks like there's cards almost. Like,
do you like cards?
We do like cards. That you'd be able to build your character with just a handful of these ability cards, and everything you'd need to run it is on the card itself, which I do like. And if I can go, the John Wick reference is not lost on me. Where did I wanted to skip to. It had a progression. Where'd that go? This is interesting. So it winds up and then comes back down, and it's kind of neat that there's a rhythm maybe to how the Barbarian's going to work. Again, I don't fully grok the system yet, just because this is my first time really interacting with it. But it seems like it's all about like dice scaling up and then scaling back down again. Like there's not a lot of math. It's about like just dice pools and scaling up the sizes and rolling the pools.
Sounds cool to me.
Right? Which is
we had talked about that at one point, doing like dice scaling for something. I don't even remember what that was, but it's a cool system. I like doing that over just numbers changing.
Yeah, there's definitely a more evocative feel to having a die go up in size rather than simply adding a static number to it. Maybe that's what I'm going to be recording this weekend on my dice field designing video that I'm going to record. Yeah, just like the quality of all of this is incredible. I'm always jealous of really good graphic designers. like look at how good this is. He's like, this game hasn't been tested yet and any of that. I'm like, wow, but it's gorgeous looking already.
Also, if it's as simple as it looks, like if that's what a character sheet is, that's really cool.
Right. So this game is called Master Lord Baron. He has a YouTube channel with just this video on it, but it looks like he does have a website. It doesn't look like there's any info on the game yet on that website, from what I've seen. And if memory serves, this is one that I don't think he's in the TFE Discord. I think this is just one that he saw from Blue Sky or on YouTube and simply submitted to it. I don't know that he's actually in our little community hanging out per se.
We'll have to connect with him.
Yeah,
It seems
I gotta
like a
find
cool,
him and
if nothing else, very cool art and animation.
yeah, it makes me want to know more about the game. Also, just very cool presentation. Seems very simple but evocative. Very cool. I dig it. All right.
I also dig it.
Last one. Fool's Errand. Let's see how the time is on this one. Okay, it is under 10 minutes. Good. I love when people read the assignment. Yeah, it was called, here I'm going to type it, Master Lord Baron. And like I said, this will be time stamped as well once once I go back and go through all 3 hours of it. All right, let's check out the next one.
Hi, my name is Eric. I'm a longtime GM, first-time YouTuber, and I'm designing a tabletop role-playing game called Fool's Errand. I'm making this video as part of the Let's Get Barbaric Indie Game Dev Challenge. That's being put on by Peter of Tales from Elsewhere Games and Zarek of Odinski Gaming. The challenge is to present our take on a barbarian, whether that's a build, a subclass, or a bit of a full game we're writing. I'll be presenting the barbarian as it appears in Fool's Errand, the D20-based rule set that I'm building. I won't get into all the rules here, but I want to mention that for combat, the goal is to have relatively safe early rounds so that players can pick fights, and a series of mechanisms that favor backpedaling or pursuit in case they find those fights too difficult. So there's a zipper-like initiative system, escalating action as the fight progresses, roll and move sprinting for pursuit, and a system of active defense that rewards dancing in and out of range of your foes. Classes work similarly to those in Pathfinder 2nd Edition or 4th Edition Dungeons & Dragons. You start with a few default benefits, and every level afterwards you pick a feat off of your class list. Barbarians start with medium armor, high health, melee and thrown weapons, and their signature ability, Recklessness. Recklessness allows the barbarian to sacrifice defense in exchange for a damage boost. Mechanically, this means that the barbarian spends their token to gain advantage to all attacks during one turn. The token is the resource that powers the default reactions. Opportunity attacks, yes, but also blocking and dodging. Rather than being regained at the start of your turn as reactions typically are in tactical D20 games, the token is refreshed by resting or running by default. Now on the surface, this looks pretty similar to 5e's Reckless Attack, but a lot has changed here. The tracking has been simplified so that when the GM attacks you, they don't have to ask what you did last turn. Using the reaction system means that the barbarian cares less about control or about the impact of their gear on blocking or dodging. And because the base damage isn't steady, there's a question of timing the Reckless Strike's damage multiplier. You can use it early to end short fights before they begin, or you can save it for later and get a larger damage benefit in total. Everything beyond Recklessness is a feat, so everything going forward will be optional, including Rage, which is often taken as a central concept of barbarian classes in games. I wanted to give players the opportunity to select their favorite way to rage, from among many options, or go rageless altogether. In Fool's Errand, no one stance will be called Rage, but each of a barbarian's stances will be based on the archetypal concept, as it has appeared in many games. Rage is typically a persistent state that a barbarian enters. Implicitly, this means they spend a bunch of time not raging. They'll have to activate the rage, have it drop after some condition or duration. Many games have a player ration a supply of rage recovered by rest, pickups, or doing angry things in combat. In the case of Fool's Errand, rages are stances. Players can only have one stance active at any given time. Activating a rage costs reserves. Reserves are a healing resource by default, but they also power anything with a long-term cost. Rages end when the barbarian takes a breather. If you want to run to the next room and keep fighting, you can keep that initial investment of resources, but you'll likely do it on lower than normal health. Finally, there's the question of activation's action economy. If it takes a whole turn to start a rage, that's a pretty big damage deficit, and you'll need a massive bonus to make up for it. If it takes a specific action type to activate, that might reduce the value of other actions in that slot, since you'll take one fewer of those per combat. If it costs nothing, the decision of when and whether to use a rage becomes somewhat thoughtless, first turn or bust, since that always maximizes damage over the course of a fight. In this specific case, I've gone with giving each rage a distinct action unique to the round you activate it. For example, the most archetypal rage stance is Warcry. It gives you a massive boost to attack damage, but on the turn that you activate it, you use an area of effect Shout instead. You'll get more value out of Warcry if you at least start that stance in a crowd. At the end of that activation turn, You pass the turn to your choice of enemy, so you can opt to pass the turn to a distant enemy and avoid immediate reprisal, although the field is likely to close in on you after that. On turns after the activation, Warcry increases the weapon damage you deal to targets within 3 yards. Warcry applies a plus 1d weapon damage bonus, so the stance favors weapons with large damage dice. Fool's Errand weapons run from 1 to 4 base dice in d4 to d10 sizes, so larger dice and high base damage aren't exactly the same thing. I've tended to give fewer larger dice to the most barbarian-coded weapons, such as axes, even when those weapons are on the lighter side, like a hand axe. The last feature of a stance that I want to cover is called Poise. Fool's Errand has 3 passive defenses that act as target numbers for different kinds of attack. Armor defends against strikes, Stature defends against stunts, like being knocked down or grabbed, Poise defends against jabs. Each stance has a unique poise value, and adds one of several ability scores. To come back to Warcry as an example, Warcry has a low poise value, and adds your fierce score to that number. As with Recklessness, Warcry sets you up for big damage at the expense of defense. For the turns when you attack, Fool's Errand allows you to choose attack feats beyond the basic attack option. Different attack feats will strike or jab different numbers of times, provide different amounts of striding, shifting, or dashing movement, and pass the turn differently. A Barbarian's Charge, for example, has lots of movement. Most of it is striding, the default option, but several yards can be spent dashing. Dash movement can be spent to clear jumps, climb walls, and ignore difficult terrain. Charge allows the Barbarian to strike twice for 2d weapon damage, then pass to the nearest enemy. In general, attacks with a lot of movement pass to the nearest enemy. This is especially helpful as a catch-up mechanic when the GM is chasing players. The straggler in the party goes first. The Thrash feat, conversely, allows the Barbarian to move less and strike 3 targets using the weapon's full damage, a great improvement if the weapon is heavy. Then the turn is passed to the Barbarian's choice of enemy. As with Warcry, this means ending the turn near enemies, but having the option to pass to someone farther away for a moment's peace. So at this point we've covered offense, but how does a Barbarian defend themselves? Most of the trades listed so far give barbarians more offense in exchange for defense. But there are other options. One thing you can do is pick a different rage with different stats. Frenzy lets you do some extra jabbing with light weapons. Gives you a smaller DPR boost, but better poise. Juggernaut lets you charge in on turn 1, and gives you temporary hit points based on your mighty each turn after that. We've got a bunch of ways to get mad. There'll even be ways to build angry archers, or hate mages in this class. Beyond that, there are the reactions. Any character can dodge or block. You dodge a bit better in light armor, or block a bit better with defensive weapons. Best of those being a shield. Dodging comes with some of the best backpedaling, whereas blocking can come with parries to inflict stun if the attacker is in melee. Barbarians have a few additional options beyond that baseline. They can learn Endure, which allows them to spend reserves instead of tokens and take half damage from an attack. You still get this after pitching your token to Reckless, and you can even get your token back for your trouble. So, face tank. The Barbarian's second unique reaction feat is called Knock Aside. It allows you to block with a weapon's damage die. Knock Aside will pass the turn less favorably than a proper block, but this allows the big bonk builds to play with an ace up their sleeve. That about wraps up the conventional Barbarian, but I have quite a bit more content planned for the final release, and a pile of mechanics left to cover. I really enjoyed putting this video together, so there may be more in the future. Thanks again to Zarek and Peter for putting on this challenge, and if you want to see more from me in the future, maybe subscribe? This has been a spur-of-the-moment thing for me, so I don't have a tight plan for the next thing. I might join in on Dragon Week in April, get into how I'm pushing for chases in Fool's Errand, or do a mathy deep dive on power attacks. Let me know in the comments if any of that sounds interesting. Till next time, bye!
So the thing that stood out to me most in that was the passing initiative, and like getting to sometimes choose where you pass initiative.
Yeah, it looks like it's using popcorn initiative or some version of that, right? Where there's no roll, it's just passing specifically between people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting. Oh, Twin Steel, were you familiar with this guy's work? I see you said Ending on the Peak. Is this somebody that you've crossed paths with? Twin Steel knows everybody. He knows every designer in the world at this point. Yeah, when he at the very beginning, he talked about inspirations of D&D 4th edition, which I always like to see. And I also kind of detected some of the Tome of Battle Book of Nine Swords kind of feel to it, right? Where there's like maneuvers that the melee characters are going to get to do. So yeah, I like when games do that, because I want martial characters to do cool stuff. Like this guy could like charge through enemies and all of that.
It's awesome.
Oh, is that you there? I see Eric in chat. Is there any other, you maybe just let me know, you can always message me later, but Is there any other public-facing like information for this game that we'd be able to link? I'd be curious to see more myself. But yeah, just let me know. Yeah, this is very cool. And if you're doing all this art yourself too, that's also very impressive. Some of these drawings were awesome.
Yeah, I like watching some of those sketches.
Yeah. I like seeing things like this where you were talking about as a designer, you're talking about, well, if the player's giving up a whole turn, their full turn to activate a rage, like to do something like that, enter a stance, that the benefits of doing so should be significant enough that loss of a turn doesn't feel bad, right? I think that's smart. All in GDocs so far. Okay, I get you. Right, that's all just in Google Docs for now. Totally cool. But yeah, this just tells me you've got your head screwed on right about some of these designs, right? A lot of people don't think through that sort of thing, where how bad it can feel to lose a turn, but if the incentive or the benefits you've gained afterward are really cool, then it doesn't feel so bad. Or like you had, one is like a battle, like a war cry that you'd want to do in the crowd. So you get to like do a thing while turning it on. So that was quite cool.
Yeah. I liked it.
Tell me, went with the ETB trigger. Tell me you play Magic the Gathering without telling me you play Magic the Gathering with this enters the battlefield acronym here, I believe. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I dig it. The weapon damage die, you remember that from 4th edition a lot, Daniel?
Yeah.
Something would do like 3 weapon damage. I always thought that was pretty clean as a structure goes.
I kind of miss 4th edition.
Honestly. I know, right? I know we had our complaints, especially at mid to high level, simply because we had all the power cards. There's too many power cards,
Yeah.
But there was just a lot of smart stuff. I don't know if Sabrock is still in chat, but he's a big 4E guy. Yeah, there was a lot that should be learned from that game. Yeah, this is
Definitely.
very cool. Very cool indeed. I like what I'm seeing here. When you started talking about poise as a defense, I was like, this person has also played Dark Souls or any Souls-like game because there's a poise. And then you had the clip from Elden Ring here. It's like, oh yeah. Poise being a term in that game for like it breaks your stance, right? It breaks your block and such, staggers you and so forth. But yeah, very cool.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Seems more than it's more. This is definitely not just like a 5e rebuild. This is a very much your own D20. Zipper-like initiative is the term you're using. Interesting. I've not heard that term maybe myself. Yes, it looked like some abilities pass the turn in specific ways, right? Some of them tell you that it passes to the nearest or by choice. So that's very cool.
Interesting consideration you have to make when you're choosing to use that ability. But this guy right next to me is going to get to go next.
Yeah, it kind of tags them in. So that's interesting.
It's a cool balancer.
Yeah, a lot of like design ideas in there that is like, interesting. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it. So yeah, a couple people have asked a question here. Yeah, Piotr and Blaze, you're asking, do we know what the next challenge is and when? We do not know what the next challenge will be and when, but I will unpack a few things. One is because Xeric is, the design challenges are kind of a Xeric project, and so I don't want to move forward with any further until he's settled. He's moving multiple states over. He just had a big job change, and his crowdfunding is starting in just like 16 days. So it'll be after that has completed. Like once his life settles, we plan on organizing more. We were thinking 1 a quarter. So, 4 a year would be a lot. And it won't be just a class design challenge next in all likelihood. We want to mix it up. Not just like, oh, what's a ranger or yours or a wizard, but maybe something more strange, right? Or like, how do you handle character death, like player death in your game? Like, what is that? Let's talk about that. So not just class design challenges, but we will sadly need to have a more strict time limit if we get similar numbers of submissions.
These were long streams.
Yes, because this was about a total of 6 hours of streaming to go through them, and that's with 1.25 speed on most videos. So we're going to probably do something like a 5-minute max and really try to cut it down, simply because, yeah, it's a lot. I see Twin saying, cleric. Yes, there's so many cool things. Yeah.
Peter, while I was watching these videos, I don't know if anybody did a video on it, but I started to think about Edge of the Empire.
Oh, yeah.
I was flipping through it.
Right.
And if there's a time here, I was like briefly putting together like how you could do a barbarian in this system.
Oh, sure. Hit us with it.
So you would pick Wookiee. I think like if you think of races in Star Wars, Wookiee comes to mind.
Classic.
And they have brawn as their highest ability by default, and they have a special ability called Wookiee Rage. So when a Wookiee has suffered wounds, you get +1 damage to brawl and melee attacks. So that's an easy one. And then I was flipping through all of the, I don't know what they call them, talents, classes.
Yeah, they're like the talent trees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the hired gun even shows a Wookiee with a thing. Yep. One of their specializations or their talent trees is the Marauder. And this has things like frenzied attack when you make a melee or brawl check.
Yep.
Suffer a number of strain to upgrade the attack, so you can like damage yourself to get stronger. What else was in here? Natural brawler, lethal blows. I'm just the flavor of the names alone sort of sells it. And then in here it talks about the Marauder as being these are hired guns, but these are people that fight up close and personal. Their career skills are coercion, melee, resilience, survival. Yeah. But that was fun to just like pour through
filter it into Star Wars. And I did like Edge of the Empire. What is it called? The Genesis system, I think is the name of it. What about the Gamorreans? Are they in that game?
That's a good question. They've got to be, right?
We get into a lot of rants at our game group because we've got one huge Star Trek fan, one huge Star Wars fan, and so we get into our feuds.
And then I sometimes are like, but what about Firefly?
But what about Firefly? There's just not enough content to dig into.
Trandoshans might also make a good barbarian.
Trandoshans would be good for a barbarian. Yeah, that'd be fun.
No Gamorreans in the base book, but there's like 5 other books I own somewhere.
We only played Edge of the Empire, I believe, when it first came out. We haven't played any other Genesis system. They've made Genesis system for other settings and such now as well.
I think if I remember correctly, they made like a system or like a genre agnostic.
Yeah, I think they did.
Book.
Yeah, definitely. So that was all 30. How many did we get here? 36 submissions for Get Barbaric. You could play Firefly with IshanekonWorldShapers. Yes, Blaze, you could play any game. Thank you everybody who submitted, and for everybody who was hanging out in both the streams. It was really fun. I know that we were unsure how this would go, me and Zarek, when we first planned it, but it was actually a blast just to hang out and see all these cool designs. And I know a lot of people who submitted this, they had never submitted any or put anything on YouTube before. So it's also very cool to see people kind of branching out into that. And a lot of them did just like really good productions, to be honest. Like the first time going on YouTube. It's very
impressive.
And like I said before, I will be going back through and time-stamping all the games, and I will link to each of that creator's page, wherever it is. So if anybody does want to go and dig into any of these more, they will have a link to do so. And if any of the designers are in here who aren't in the Tales from Elsewhere Discord, I recommend joining, because that's where the main place we organize and talk about these things. We'll always do posts on YouTube or on Blue Sky, but really the TFE Discord's where we have a dedicated channel for these sort of collabs. So the Get Barbaric channel is going to be changed. It'll just be a collab. It'll be a design challenge channel until we pick a new one. But we will be doing more of these. It's just time permitting. As you can tell, this is fairly time intensive to set up. We might do a vote for the community too to see which kind of topic they'd want to do. Zarek and I just haven't had a chance to discuss it because he's swamped with getting his Backerkit up. So the last thing I'm going to do before we close it out is just remind everybody, because Zarek's great and his game is cool, he is 16 days away from launching his Backerkit, and I know I'll be getting one of like the special edition covers that look super cool. So check it out. Just look for Indominant on Backerkit. But eventually, when I do the timestamps, I'll put a link to it. But it's very good stuff. Whenever we're doing these design challenges, I want to draw attention to people in the indie community who are trying to put their stuff on crowdfunding because, as I know I've said, like Hasbro doesn't really need more of our money. Let's put that kind of money toward indie designers. I think that's what we should be doing. All right, time for me to go eat. I've been streaming for 3 hours now. Thanks, Daniel, for filling in. Thanks
for having me.
Good to hang out with you and talk more game design. Thanks everybody. I'm going to close the stream now, and I'll see you all in the TFE Discord. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
And we are no longer live.